Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. Hope you enjoy.
Do you think they'll leave me alone now? October 18th, 2004. Joey. How are you feeling now, Shan? I asked as I sat opposite my sister in the chipper and watched as she toyed with the same chip that she'd been holding for 10 minutes. Any better? I'm okay, Joe, she replied, voice barely more than a whisper. Her eyes glazed over as she clearly drifted in and out of her thoughts. She wasn't eating again, and I was fucking terrified of letting it go to a stage where she couldn't come back from it. I knew all about falling over the edge of bullshit, and I didn't want that for my sister. Just eat another 5 chips, I coaxed, pushing the tray closer to her. I won't ask for any more than 5. I'm not anorexic, Joe, she explained weakly, tucking her hair behind her ears. I'm just... She exhaled a ragged breath before whispering. Not well. Yeah, I knew how that felt. When I didn't feel well, I self-medicated. When my sister didn't feel well, she starved herself half to death. Her reaction to stress was as real to her as mine was to me. But that didn't make it easy for me to sit back and watch, especially when everything inside of me demanded that I fix this, that I fix her. I couldn't blame her for feeling the way she did. On the way to school this morning, she had been jumped by Ciara Maloney and Hannah Daly. I wasn't with her, because I hung back to have a smoke with a few of the lads from my road. I had never felt so goddamn helpless in my life when I finally caught up with her and saw her getting attacked. They were accusing her of being with Ciara's fella, Shannon. The same Shannon who had never glanced sideways at the opposite sex, let alone robbed someone's fella. It was beyond absurd. And I couldn't hit them to get them off her. I couldn't do a damn thing, because as much as I willing to return the favour to their brothers and boyfriends, they were nowhere to be seen in the moment. And I would rather slit my wrists than put hands on a female. Those bitches knew that, which meant that all I could do was drag her out from beneath them and shield her small body with mine. Do you think they'll leave me alone now? She asked, thankfully taking a bite of a chip. Do you think that'll be the end of it now? That we've made a statement to the guards? No, I didn't think it was going to be the end of it. But I certainly wasn't about to tell my fragile baby sister that. Yeah, Shan. Offering her a reassuring smile, I took a bite of the burger she'd left untouched. The guards are going to go over to Ciara's house and give her a right talking to. Which wouldn't work, just like last time. It's going to get better, I promise. The minute the word promise came out of my mouth, Shannon smiled at me, and I knew that I'd fed that demon of insecurity that lived inside of her just enough to keep it at bay for a while. Talk to me about something else, she said then, thankfully eating another chip. Something that's not depressing. Our whole world was one big depression. Like what, Shan? Your girlfriend? She said, and smiled knowingly. Aoife. Aoife? I mused, swallowing another bite of my burger. What do you want to know? She's very beautiful, Joe. Yeah, I know, Shan. Like, seriously stunning, she offered. The boys in third year are always talking about her. The boys in third year have good taste. How long have you been together? A few months. Is it serious? Define serious. Are you exclusive? Yeah, we are. So no other girls tucked away to one side? No? I shook my head. No other girls. Whoa, Joe. She waggled her brows. It kind of sounds like you might be in love. I am. Oh my God. Her eyes bulged. I was half expecting you to deny it. There's no point. I shrugged. I love the girl. It is what it is. What's it like? What's what like, Shan? Being in love. She sighed, resting her chin on her small hand, thoroughly invested in the conversation now. What does it feel like? I cocked a brow. Of all the things we could talk about, you want to talk about feelings? Please, she begged. Just humour me. All right. Shifting around awkwardly, I took a sip from my Coke while I thought about it for a moment. It's painful. Her eyes widened to saucers. Painful? Yeah, I nodded. But it's the kind of pain that's worth feeling, you know. She blew out a breath. Really? It's like you know you're about to get your ass handed to you by exposing yourself to this person. And you know that you're fucking around on the edge of something that could potentially break and ruin you. But it's just so damn thrilling. So consumingly addicting that you're willing to take the risk and do just about anything to be with that person. Whoa, she mused in a dreamy tone. That's so great, Joe. It's actually pretty terrible, I offered dryly. You should avoid it like the plague. Shannon laughed, and then asked, So is Aoife the reason? Clearing her throat, she said in a much quieter tone. You decided to, well, you know. She cupped her hands around her mouth before whispering. Don't hang out with Shane Holland and those guys. She's certainly the reason why I've become so good at hiding it. Yeah, Shan, I said, feeling like a piece of shit. She is.
Stay with me. October 31st, 2004. Aoife. It was Halloween night, and after keeping Joe company while he took his little brothers out trick-or-treating, we had spent the rest of the night at Biddy's bar, necking shots and having fun with our friends. Fancy dress had been optional, but I had no doubt that the slutty nurse's outfit I'd been donning had a lot to do with our current status. Drunk on alcohol, love, and the fantastic taste of his tongue in my mouth, I kissed him back with everything I had in me as our bodies collided in a heap on his bed. This was what it was like when we collided. It either ended in us fighting or fucking, and I was down for both. Groaning loudly, we ripped and tore at each other's clothes until we were naked, with him buried to the hilt inside me. Fuck, Malloy, I want you so bad I can't see straight. That would be the vodka that had hindered his ability to see straight, but I understood the sentiment, even if I was too drunk to say so. Give it to me, I hissed, biting down hard on his lip, needing him to be rough and hard with me tonight. I want it rough. Gone were the days of gentle touching and nervous missionary positions where I laid beneath him and prayed his big dick wouldn't break me open. No, because my boyfriend had been inside of my body enough times that I knew exactly what I wanted from him, and he was never less than 100% willing to oblige. Hooking one of my legs over his shoulder with one arm, Joey grabbed my hip with his free hand and thrust into me so fast and furiously that the familiar sound of my head smacking off the headboard and subsequently the headboard cracking off the wall filled the room. Beyond aroused by the boy between my legs, I reached out and clutched the sheets, needing to find something to ground me as my body flooded with heat. I want that whore out! My breath hitched in my throat when I heard the familiar voice bellowing from the other side of his bedroom door. I want that cunt out of my house! Bang, bang, bang. Do you hear me, boy? Bang. Get that whore out of my house! Just like that, every muscle in Joey's body coiled tight with tension, and he was gone from me. Pulling out, he sat back on his knees, hands resting on my bare thighs. His chest was heaving, his face still swollen and bruised from the last time they'd fought. Ignore him, I begged, more for his sake than mine. Joe! I can't, he whispered, shaking his head. I can't hear that. His voice cracked, and he drew in several sharp breaths. I'm going to kill him. No! Breathing hard, I sat up and cupped the back of his neck with both hands. It's okay. Dragging his toned body back down on mine, I held his face between my hands and forced him to look at me. Just concentrate on us. Malloy. Trembling, he shook his head and rested his weight on his elbow. I can't let him say that about you. I don't care. I hurried to soothe. Fuck him. I don't give a damn about what he thinks of me. But just stay here, Joe, I begged, wrapping my legs tightly around him, desperate to keep him with me. I knew what would happen if he left this room, and my heart couldn't take it. Sliding a hand between us, I slowly pumped his shaft before guiding him back inside me. It's okay. Thrusting my hips upward, I used my body to keep him safe. Just be with me. A hand clamped down on my hip, tugging me flush against him. He was so warm, smelled so good. Get that cunt out of my house, you little bastard! Exhaling a pained groan, Joey clenched his eyes and buried his face in my neck. Eve. I love you, Joey Lynch, I whispered, cradling his face to my neck as he thrust inside me, hips moving almost frantically. I love you so much. My heart cracked clean open when I felt the first tear land on my collarbone, followed by another and another. He was still moving inside me, still taking what he needed from me, but he was broken. And I was terrified that I couldn't fix him.
Stepping out and stepping up. November 30th, 2004, Joey. Ma'am. Standing in the doorway of her bedroom, I resisted the urge to walk over there and tip the mattress and force her to get out of that goddamn bed. By some small grace of God, the old man had walked out on our mother 3 nights ago. He declared that we could all burn to death for all he cared because he'd found himself a real woman. If I could have packed his bags and walked him to the door, I would have. Instead, I'd been preoccupied with picking my mother up off the kitchen floor. She'd taken to the bed soon after and hadn't left since. You have to get up, I told her. I've the rest of them sent off to school, but Sean is downstairs. Nanny's in Beira with Auntie Alice, so she can't take him, and I can't miss school again. I already missed yesterday. Please, ma'am. Nothing. I have to get my project sorted for construction. Not even a twitch. It's worth over 50% of my Leaving Cert exam. Silence. Ma'am! I said it louder this time, hoping by some small miracle that I would be able to somehow get through to her, wherever the fuck she was in that head of hers. You're better off without him. Do you hear me? You are better off. Let him fuck off with that barmaid from town. She's his problem now. Blowing out a frustrated growl, when she didn't so much as flinch, I walked into the room I hated most in this house and forced my legs to walk over to the bed. Ma'am! Crouching down in front of her, I tapped her on her lifeless hand. Nothing. Dead blue eyes stared back at nothing. I knew she was alive. I could see her chest rising and falling. But that was the only sign. Other than that, she was a glorified zombie. Ma'am, please. Voice softening. I reached over and tucked her hair behind her ear. You have to get back up. A lone tear trickled down her cheek. It was the only response she gave to tell me that she could hear me. Okay, ma'am. Sighing heavily, I pulled the covers over her frail shoulders to keep her warm, and then I headed for the door. I'll stay home and mind Sean. How is she? Were the first words that came out of Shannon's mouth when she walked through the front door after school. Did she come out? Heard the toilet flush twice, but that's about it. I called over my shoulder as I tried to save the mince from burning the pan, having made the rare mistake of forgetting I left the ring on. Shit, fuck, shit! Nice language, Tag mocked from the kitchen table. Should I learn how to spell those words too, Joe? Just concentrate on your homework, and less of the snark. I shot back, eyeing my sister to come save me. Smiling, Shannon walked over to the stove and nudged me out of the way. Need a hand, Joe? Please. Tossing the spaghetti-smeared tea towel over her shoulder, I scooped up the toddler who, I was fairly sure, was contemplating taking a dump in his pants, and headed for the bathroom. Does Shawnee have poos for Joe? No poos, Owie. Little liar. Go on and check for me, I ordered, setting him down in front of the potty in the utility room. Good lad yourself. Hey, Joe. What's a click-oris? Ollie called from the other side of the kitchen table. The fuck? Gaping, I stalked back to where he had his homework book open. Where did you see that word, Ollie? I didn't see it, he explained innocently, smiling up at me. I heard it. Jesus Christ. Where'd you hear that, Ulz? In the sexual education talk at school. What the absolute fuck? I looked to Shannon for help, but she had turned redder than the bolognese she was stirring. At a loss, I turned to Tag. What's this I'm hearing about sexual education? Tag shrugged. No clue, Joe. I was away with the school's hurling team. He grinned proudly. We won, and I scored 2 goals. Nice. Accepting his high five, I quickly turned my attention back to spawn number 5. You're in 4th class, Ollie, in primary school. You don't need to be taking any sex education class. It's compulsory. Compulsory, you dope, Tag growled. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I needed to get this kid into speech and language. I'm going to have to call your school, I told them both. You're too young to be learning about this kind of thing. But what is it, Joe? What's what? A clitoris? Shannon choked on her own spit behind me. Well, it's like you said. It's something you click, I muttered, having no idea what to do or how to handle the kinds of questions these kids continued to throw at me. Like a button, I nodded. Yeah, that's right. Where? Where's what? The clitoris, silly, Ollie said, and then frowned. Teacher said that only girls get a clitoris. But that's not fair, is it, Joe? How comes they get a secret button and we don't? Owie poos! Sean hollered from the utility room, and I had never been so relieved to clean shit up than I was in this moment. Coming, Shawnee, I called back before saying, Alls, we can pick this conversation back up when you're a teenager.
House calls and domestic disturbances. December 10th, 2004. Aoife. Being in love with someone who was hell-bent on self-destructing was such a lonely place to exist. I felt incredibly helpless, watching on as my boyfriend buried his secrets with lie upon countless lie. I wanted to save him. I felt like I was watching him drown, that I was desperately reaching my hand out, but his pride was so potent that it meant he would rather go under than let me pull him to safety. I knew he wasn't clean. Hadn't been since the day after Halloween, when I had made the fatal decision of admitting to him that his father had made another pass at me. I physically watched the light in his eyes leave that day, and nothing I'd been able to say or do since had been able to reignite that spark. I could see it on his face every day. He was slowly slipping back into old habits, and I was afraid to push back against his behaviour for fear that it would make it worse. Make him worse. I was so afraid of him ending up dead in a ditch somewhere that I found myself, disgustingly, turning a blind eye when he came back from lunch with bloodshot eyes and a faraway look in his eyes. But there were two things that I was absolutely sure about when it came to Joey. The first, it wasn't uncommon for him to skip a day or two of school. The second, when it came to his job at the garage, he was the complete opposite. Never mind being uncommon, when it came to his job, the boy's rap sheet was virtually non-existent. It was for these reasons that I found myself incredibly concerned over the fact that he had missed almost 2 whole weeks of school and work. To be fair, he had returned all of my text messages and phoned me for a chat every night, fobbing me off with the reason for his absence being family business and nothing to worry about. Of course I was worried. All I seemed to do nowadays was to worry about him. The fact that he had refused to meet up or let me come over had unsettled me to the point of blind panic, which was why, by the time the second Friday he missed school rolled around, I drove straight to his house after my shift at work. I needed to see with my own eyes what he had been assuring me nightly on the phone. That he hadn't slipped up to the extent he had last September. What I didn't expect to find when I got there was a Garda car. Panic immediately setting in, I hastily parked my car at the side of the road and jumped out of the car. "What's going on?" I asked a group of women who were standing at the wall in their dressing gowns, smoking cigarettes. What happened? Domestic disturbance, apparently. One of them said. What's new in that house? Sure, God love them, the poor craters. Marie's young fella's gone off the rails again. The first one added. Pity about it too, because he's a fine lad if he could only keep a hold of that temper of his. Who? My eyes widened in horror. Joey! It was at that exact moment that the guards walked out of the house with my boyfriend in handcuffs. Ah, that's very sad, one of the women said with a heavy sigh. Poor old crater. Joe! Feeling like my windpipe had been severed, I bolted towards him. Are you okay? He clearly wasn't okay. His entire face was swollen like a balloon, and there was blood flowing freely from his clearly broken nose. The knuckles of his handcuffed hands were torn open and dripping with even more blood. Malloy, he said when he noticed me running towards him. What are you doing here? Joe! Dodging one Garda and sidestepping another, I didn't stop until I was flung against his chest, with my arms wrapped tightly around his neck. Oh my God, Joe! It's grand. He was quick to soothe. It's all good, baby. Step away, a Garda instructed me as she forcefully removed me from him. Don't be worrying, Malloy, Joey called over his shoulder as he was ushered into the back seat of the squad car. I'll call you later. Reeling, I watched on helplessly for the second time as the guards drove away with him in handcuffs. What the hell happened? I shouted, furious when the remaining guards completely ignored me while they made their way out of the garden. Well? Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a familiar face, and my heart sank into my ass. Well, if it isn't young Aoife, Jerry Rice said as he strolled towards me. I haven't seen you in a while. He gestured around him before adding, So, this is how you're keeping yourself occupied these days. I knew it was a dig. I also knew that if I opened my mouth and talked back, it would only harm Joey in the long run. That young fella you're knocking around with is a bad type, he continued to say. Attacked his father, so he did. Made an awful job of the poor man. He sighed heavily. You'd do well to cut your losses with that tow rag. Using an ornate amount of self-control, I smiled politely at my ex-boyfriend's highly ranked Garda father and turned on my heels, making a beeline for Joey's front door. I didn't knock. It was incredibly reckless of me, but I walked right inside without invitation. I wasn't sure what I had expected to see, but the sheer amount of blood on the sitting room floor was sobering. Aoife? Sniffling, Shannon stumbled off the couch and barreled towards me. Hey, I soothed when her small arms came around me. Are you okay? What happened? He left, she cried. He was gone for almost 2 weeks, until tonight. He came back and they got into a huge fight. Your father and Joey? Clenching her eyes shut, she nodded against me. It was terrible. The worst I've ever seen them fight. I glanced around at the room, taking in the sight of the broken coffee table and shattered glass and ornaments. There was a poleaxed Christmas tree strewn against the television unit, with festive baubles scattered everywhere. The neighbours must have heard them and called the guards, because they showed up and arrested my brother. Why? I demanded. Why'd they arrest Joey? Because he won, Shannon cried, holding on to me like I could somehow fix this. He got the better of Dad for once. Where's your father now? Gone to the doctors. And the boys and your mam? The boys are in next door with Fran, she sobbed. And Mam, she went with Dad. She what? My brows shot up in surprise. What about Joey? Shannon shrugged and cried harder. I don't want him to go to prison, Aoife. He's not going to prison. I was quick to reassure her. I'm going to go down to the station right now and sort this whole mess out. You can't, she cried, clutching me tighter. You can't tell them. I'm not letting him get into trouble for something your father did. No, please, please. She practically screamed and then jerked away her hands, moving to claw her hair. Don't tell. Okay. I tried to soothe. I won't say a word until I talk to your brother. Help him, Aoife, she cried, clutching at her throat. He's all alone in the world. No, he's not, I assured her in a shaky tone as I ran for the door with only one destination in mind. He has me.
No more chances, Lynch. December 11th, 2004. Joey. It was gone 9 the following morning before I was released from the Garda station, making last night one of my longest stints in the cells. A stark preview of what would happen once I turned 18 at the end of this month. No more chances, Lynch. This is your last warning. Beyond exhausted, I stretched out of my stiff limbs and stepped through the station doorway, only to halt at the top of the stone steps when my eyes landed on a familiar blonde, curled up under a coat, fast asleep. Malloy? Concern filled me. Did you stay here all night? Blinking awake, she looked around sleepily before her eyes settled on my face. Joe! Relief flashed across her face as she sprang up from the step and bolted towards me. Oh, thank God! Throwing her arms around me, she squeezed me tight and then pulled back to slap my chest. You have some serious explaining to do. You're one to talk, I growled, holding her shoulder so that I could get a proper look at her face. What the hell were you thinking, staying out here all night, Malloy? It's the middle of winter. They wouldn't let me talk to you, she snapped back, and I wasn't going anywhere until I did. Releasing another ragged breath, she pulled me in for another hug. What happened? What did they say? Were you charged with anything? Everything's fine. Slinging an arm over her shoulders, I led her away from the station, needing to put some space between this girl and my mistakes. Stop worrying. Stop worrying. I've been more than just worrying, Joe. God, I feel like I haven't been able to breathe again until just now. With her arm around my waist, she slipped her hand into the ass pocket of my jeans and leaned into my side. What happened? I thought about feeding her the same bullshit I'd given to the guards, but I had too much respect for this girl. I had too many feelings involved to give her anything other than the truth. He walked out on Mam a couple of weeks ago for some barmaid from town that she caught him messing around with. I heard myself explain, unnerved by just how easy it was to be truthful with her. It didn't happen often. Shit. It never happened. Not with anyone else, just her. Only ever her. Mam was a mess when he left and took to the bed. I grimaced at the memory of trying to spoon-feed the woman a cup of crappy instant soup. That was the family shit I told you that I was dealing with. Shrugging, I added, I couldn't leave Sean on his own with her. Not when I couldn't be sure that she would feed him, so I took a few days off to hold the fort at home, while my mom processed whatever the hell it was that she needed to process. And last night he decided he had enough of his barmaid and came back, laying down the law and stinking of whiskey. I stiffened at the memory of him sauntering through the front door like he was God's fucking gift. And it got messy. How messy? Messy enough that when Mam, who had only managed to drag herself out of the bed and put herself back together that day, made the near-fatal mistake of telling him to turn around and leave. He beat my mother. I heard myself growl. So I beat him. He beat your mam? Yeah. I nodded stiffly. And the bastard's always been smart enough to hurt her where nobody will see the marks. Jesus, Joe. I didn't even know he'd come back. I was upstairs in my room when I heard her screaming my name, so I came running. I was halfway down the staircase when I saw him slap my sister across the face for trying to pull him off our mother. You've seen how small she is. Shan went down like a sack of spuds, so I lost me head. Went for him. Shrugging, I added. And here we are. Here we are, she repeated sadly. Your poor face. I didn't come out the worst, I was quick to assure her. It was the one part of the whole damn mess that had kept me warm last night. I'd gotten the better of him, finally. After almost 18 years of taking his shit, he had to be protected from me. He was a lucky man that the neighbours called the guards over the commotion, because if they hadn't arrived and dragged me off him, I would have been facing murder charges. Malloy sucked in a sharp breath. So, what did the guards say? It was just the usual slap on the wrist and a warning. They called in an emergency social worker and a youth liaison officer, you know, the usual bullshit. What does that mean? Concern filled her eyes. Are you been taken away? No, it's grand, I assured her. I'm used to social workers coming around. I'll handle it. Well, I hope you told them everything, Joe, she growled. Because this can't happen again. When I didn't answer her, because I couldn't give her the answer she wanted, she lost it. Oh my fucking God! She screamed, pushing my chest before jerking away from me. Why didn't you tell them the truth? Because I can't. It's not your business, Malloy. You're my business. It's okay. I attempted to calm her by saying, it's going to be fine. They'll write up the usual reports, send the usual people round for a home check, and Mam will feed them the usual drivel. Then in a few weeks, it'll all be brushed under the table. How? Confused, I looked at her and asked, how what? How can this be brushed under the table? Her green eyes blazed with fury. He beat you, Joey. You're his son, and he broke your damn nose. He hit your mam. He slapped your sister and Tag. She choked out a sob. He hurt him not too long ago. That's not normal, okay? Contrary to whatever bull crap your parents have fed you, this doesn't happen in other homes. So how is this going to be fine? It's just is. Okay, I snapped, feeling my defensive walls shoot up around me. Fuck! Bull! She shouted, turning back towards the Garda station. You're being used as a scapegoat for your father's crimes. Your mother just threw you to the wolves to save her abusive husband's skin. She should have been down here with you last night, straightening all of this out and telling them that they arrested the wrong person. Instead, she was with him, plotting and scheming up a story to tell the world about how her son has anger management issues, when that couldn't be further from the truth. You're not the instigator in this. He is. And I'm not about to sit back and watch you take the blame. Aoife. I held up a hand in warning, feeling like she had just stabbed me through both the chest and the back. If you say a word about this to the guards, then I swear to God I'll never talk to you again. Her mouth fell open. I'm trying to protect you. You swore you wouldn't. I reminded her. It was why I opened up to her. You fucking promised to me. Well, I have to do something, Joey, she strangled out. I can't watch this happen to you. I love you. Well, don't. I roared back at her. If loving me means betraying my trust, then don't fucking bother. Don't love me, and don't get involved. I can take care of my own shit. Joey. I shouldn't have told you a damn thing. I choked out, shaking now. Fuck! Joey, wait! No. Shaking my head, I turned on my heels and walked away from her, needing to put some space between us before I lost the head and said something I couldn't take back. I mean it, Malloy. I called over my shoulder. Talk to the guards, and we're done.
Suspensions and Cold Shoulders. December 17th, 2004. Aoife. Joey and I were on the outs. Ever since our fight outside the Garda station last weekend, I had been on the receiving end of his cold shoulder. All week at school, he had walked right by me in the halls like I wasn't there. And even in the classes when we were assigned to sit together, he never once relented. Of course, neither did I. And I had all but goaded him until I was blue in the face for a reaction. I didn't get one. Not when I sat on his lap at lunch. Not when I stabbed him with a pencil in English. Not even when I flashed him a boob in PE. Nada. It was fairly evident that my threat to talk to the guards had backfired on me in epic fashion. Joey was beyond furious with me, and on the rare occasion that I had caught him staring at me, the look of betrayal in his eyes directed towards me had made me wish I hadn't. How was I supposed to explain to him that I was trying to help him and not betray him if he wouldn't speak to me? It was beyond frustrating. Like a glutton for punishment, my masochistic mind drifted back to the last time we had been together before shit had hit the fan at home for him. Drunk as a skunk, Joey held me and mumbled along to the Beatles' Don't Let Me Down as we swayed against each other on the dance floor in the back lounge of Biddy's. My Grandad Murphy was a big fan. Of the Beatles? Yeah. and of this song. Pulling me close, he pressed a kiss to the curve of my jaw and said, "When I was small, I used to ask him what the words of the song meant. He would always say that one day, when I found myself in love with a girl, I wouldn't have to ask him what the words meant because I would already know." His arms tightened around me. Turns out he was right. "You look like someone stole your last Rolo," Casey announced when she sank down on the chair beside me during big break on Friday. "Is he still ignoring you?" "Yep." I nodded glumly and tossed my spoon back in my yogurt, appetite null and void. "He sure is." "Jesus, what did you do to piss him off this much?" She blew out a breath. "I've never seen him ignore you like this, not in the 6 years we've been in school together. Anytime you guys have been on the outs in the past, it's because you've evoked the silent law, not him." I sighed wearily. He thinks I've broken his trust and betrayed him. "Did you?" "No." I was quick to defend. "I didn't." I thought about doing something that he considers a betrayal, but he freaked out, so I didn't. "Then there's no harm done, right?" Casey frowned. "What's he still mad for?" "Because in his mind, the very fact that I thought about it is an act of betrayal." "Jesus, that boy is complicated." "You have no idea, Case." "Uh-oh, speaking of complicated." Nudging my arm with her elbow, she inclined her head towards the window, to where Joey and a few of his friends were getting fairly aggressive with Mike, Paul, and a few others from our year outside in the yard. "Oh, for God's sake," I groaned, watching as he balled his hands into fists at his sides. "He better not start a—" "Too late, it's already started," Casey interjected, watching right along with me as Joey and Mike Maloney started brawling on the ground. "You'd better go and calm that stud of yours down," she added, "before he gets himself expelled and I lose my eye candy for the rest of the year." "Joey!" I screamed, pushing through the hordes of bystanders who had made a large circle around the fight. "Stop! Wait! Would you just stop, Joey? Stop!" Joey didn't stop. Instead, he attacked our classmate with such bloodlust and viciousness that it resembled a dogfight, where Mike was the unknowing Labrador and Joey was the teeth-baring pit bull. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Podge faithfully throwing punches at Paul in his bid to protect his best friend from being double-teamed. It wouldn't have mattered if he was. None of the boys in our year could fight like Joey, because, unlike the trivial fights they got into, when my boyfriend fought, it was a matter of life and death. Because when someone threatened Joe, it sent him right back to that house, where he had to fight for his life against a man who had caused so much post-traumatic stress inside of him that I doubted a lifetime of therapy could fix. I doubted Joey was even seeing Mike's face as he bludgeoned him with his fists. All he could see was his father. "Stop!" I commanded, unafraid to get right up in his face when nobody else would. Because as sure as the sun would rise in the morning, I knew he wouldn't harm a hair on my head. "Joey, stop!" Kneeling down on the ground beside a bleeding Mike, I caught a hold of Joey's face between my hands and forced him to look at me. "I told you to stop!" Wild and unrecognizable black eyes stared back at me. Great. Not only had he lost himself in what I could describe as a violent bout of PTS, but he was strung out too. "Stop!" I commanded, keeping a firm hold on his face as I kept his gaze. "You're not there. You're at school. With me." It took a long time for him to process my face, but once he did, I watched as the tension dissipated from his body in a sudden rush, and he slumped forward. With his bloodied hands hanging limply at his sides, he let his head fall to my shoulder. "They hurt her," he slurred. "They hurt my sister." Who hurt Shannon, Joe? Was it Mike's sister? Was it Kira? I felt him nod against my shoulder. "It's okay," I whispered, wrapping an arm around his back while I cradled his head to my shoulder with the other. "It's okay." The commotion around us was all too familiar, and I knew what was coming before it even happened. "Joseph Lynch!" Mr. Nyan bellowed, pushing through the crowds. "My office, now! The guards are on the way."
Knocking on Heaven's Door. December 17th, 2004. Joey. Laying on my back, I stared up at my bedroom ceiling and ignored the screaming going on downstairs. I didn't have anything left in me to go down there and be thrown on the front line like I always was. Instead of her screams, I concentrated on the sound of Bob Dylan's Knocking on Heaven's Door as it drifted from my stereo. I was so fucking dead inside that if you cut me open, my insides would spew black. That's how dark I felt, how truly rotten I felt on the inside, how far I'd fallen. Turning my head to one side, I stared at the tinfoil, lighter, and broken pen on my mattress, as my mind drifted in and out of focus, in and out of consciousness. Another suspension. Do you want to ruin your life? Joey, help me, please. You're off the hurling team. Don't even think about stepping foot on a pitch until your suspension is lifted. Bang, bang, bang. Where's your precious son now, you whore? You're such a disappointment. What did you take? Why are you the way you are? Oh, Jesus! Teddy, that's heroin! Don't you ever think about anyone other than yourself? Joey, baby, can you hear me? It's okay, Joe. It's okay, I'm here. He's off his trolley on drugs, Marie. There's no talking to him when he's like that. Wait until he comes round, and I'll give the little prick a good talking to. I wish you were never born. I love you, Joey Lynch. Don't leave me, Darren. Close the door. I don't want the rest of the children seeing him like this. No, Daddy. I'm scared. Footsteps retreating. I want to die, Joe. Door closing. Stay with me, Joey. Stay right here with me. Alone in the dark. I couldn't tell the difference between what was real and what wasn't. Shadows danced on my bedroom wall. I couldn't feel a thing. I couldn't hurt. No more pain. No fucking more.
Too stubborn and too in love. December 19th, 2004. Aoife. Joey was escorted from school by the guards on Friday, and it had been radio silence ever since. His phone was constantly off, and none of the Lynch family would answer the door to me when I knocked. And I had knocked. Repeatedly. From what I had gathered from the gossip spreading around school, Marie Lynch had pulled Shannon out of BCS with immediate effect and had enrolled her to start at Thomond College after Christmas break. The jury was still out on Joey's future. His latest episode had been taken to the board of management who, from what I heard, were due to meet up some time in the next week to discuss his possible permanent expulsion from school. Therefore, when I received a random text message from Joey at 8:30 on Sunday night asking if I wanted to meet him at Biddy's for a drink and to talk, I had practically cracked my neck in my haste to get ready. Running late, due to an innate amount of time it took to blow dry and straighten my hair, I managed to make it to Biddy's for just after 9. I couldn't stop the rattling in my knees when I made my way into the back lounge, and when my eyes landed on him, sitting alone in the corner, it wasn't just my knees that rattled. Every inch of me shook. Joey was sitting at our usual table with his signature vodka and Red Bull in front of him, and a bottle of Smirnoff Ice with a straw poking over the rim on the opposite end of the table. The minute his eyes landed on me, I felt a rush of heat flood my belly that quickly crawled all over my skin. "Hey," I said, taking a seat opposite him and unravelling my scarf from around my neck. "Hey." "Thanks for the drink," I added, as I shimmied off my coat and set it on the chair beside me. "Thanks for coming," he replied, watching me warily from across the table. "You look beautiful." "I know." "So how are you?" "I'm not too fucking good, Malloy," he admitted quietly. "How are you?" "Not too good either, Joe." I watched him watch me for a long moment and soaked in the feeling of having his eyes on me. "I'm suspended again," he finally broke the tension with. "I heard." Picking up my bottle, I wrapped my lips around the straw and took a sip. "Have you heard back if they're expelling you?" Shaking his head, he took a sip from his glass and set it back down. "But Shannon's moving to Tommen after Christmas, so at least something positive has come out of it. She won't have to deal with those girls anymore. I already know." "She is?" He nodded slowly. "Ma'am took a loan out from the credit union for the tuition. Herself and Shannon have been over to the school to meet the principal and look around, and she seems to be excited." He shrugged. "Could be a life changer for her." "Let's hope so, huh?" "Yeah," he agreed. "Let's." So, taking another deep sip from my drink, I forced myself to get down to business. "What's happening here, Joe? I get that you're mad at me over the whole talking to the authorities idea, but it's more than that, isn't it? I feel like there is a distance between us that wasn't there a month ago." "Yeah," he agreed quietly. "I guess there is." Oh, fuck. This is it. This is where he breaks your heart. Tossing my straw aside, I put my lips around the rim of my bottle and continued to drink until I had every drop in my belly. For the nerves. "So," I roughly cleared my throat and met his gaze head on. "What are you saying?" "I suppose I'm saying that I'm not intentionally trying to put distance between us, Malloy." Knees bouncing restlessly, he reached for his glass and tipped it back. "I'll get us another." With that, he bolted to the bar, returning a moment later with 2 new drinks. "Where were we?" "You were saying you weren't trying to put distance between us, and then you legged it away to the bar," I offered wryly. He didn't laugh. Instead, he blew out a frustrated breath and said, "I'm not good at this, Malloy." "Good at what, Joe?" "Talking shit through," he admitted gruffly. "Resolving an argument with words." The Pogue's Fairy Tale of New York wafted from the speakers above the bar then, as the DJ started his set. "Remember this time last year?" His lips twitched. "You told me this was our song." "Yeah, I remember," I drawled. "And it certainly fits us better this year." "That's fair." He let out a sigh. I still can't understand how you lasted a whole year without running for the hills. I don't run, remember? I shot back, reaching across the table with my palm up. And neither do you. Joey stared at my outstretched hand for a long moment before placing his on top of it and entwining our fingers. I guess we're both too stubborn for running, huh, Malloy? Or too in love? Yeah. He agreed, tone gruff, as he pressed a kiss to the back of my hand. Or that.
Snuffed out hopes and dreams. December 23rd, 2004, Joey. I knew I was tumbling down a slippery slope, with no sight of stopping, no hope of slamming on the brakes, and still, I was too selfish to do the right thing by my girlfriend. I had the perfect opportunity to let her go the other night, to free her from my bullshit, and I choked. I couldn't do it. I couldn't pull the trigger. It was like I'd inhaled her so deeply inside of me that my head and heart refused to function. I couldn't release the air in my burning lungs without the absolute guarantee that I would get to see her face again, whether I deserved to or not. Sitting across from her at Biddy's the other night, it had really hit me just how fucking beautiful she was. And I wasn't talking about the outside either. Eva Malloy had a heart of gold and was hell-bent on handing it over to a piece of shit like me. She was my momentary escape from all of the fucking dark. She was the only bit of brightness I had in my life, and it scared me to think of how little else I had going for me. Without her, I had nothing. Without her, I was nothing. Weakened and demoralized with life, I had clung to the lifeline she offered me, because that meant that I got to keep her for just a little bit longer. I didn't have a backup plan or a safety net to land on when everything went to hell. And it would go to hell on me. It always did. People like me didn't get second chances. When she finally came to her senses and left, which I had no doubt she would, I would be completely alone. Fuck. My mind kept drifting back to how she looked the other night, when she took me home with her. "What are you doing?" she whispered, hovering in the bathroom doorway, as I stood with my back to her, with a rolled-up tenner pressed to my nose. "Joe?" Snorting the crushed powder of a D2 up my nose, I clutched the basin and exhaled a heavy breath, preparing for the fight I knew was about to erupt between us. Wordlessly, she walked up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist. "Come to bed." Confusion filled me. "But you just saw—" "I know what I saw," she whispered, kissing my back again. "Just come to bed." Higher than Everest, I lay on her mattress and watched as she climbed on top of me. Her face was ingrained in my mind. I was high in pain and close to breaking point, but her face, Jesus, her face was all I could see. Her smell was all around me, her hair cloaking my face as she leaned into my lips, kissing me, doing all the work. She was shining, fucking shining. The moon was illuminating her. Powerful. She was so fucking powerful. "Are you mad at me?" I slurred, feeling weak and disorientated by her calmness. "Yes." "Then why aren't you shouting at me?" I shook my head in clouded confusion. "I've stopped trying, Malloy. I can't try anymore. Why aren't you kicking me out?" Because you might not love yourself, but I do. I love you enough for the both of us, she whispered, fisting my cock in her hand. And if keeping you here with me means that you're off the streets and safe, then that's what I'm going to do. And as she lowered herself down on me, the reality of what I'd done to this girl hit me like a fucking wrecking ball. I was a fucking mess. Almost as much as the prick who was standing in front of me when I came downstairs on Thursday, freshly showered and ready to meet up with Malloy for my birthday. I thought to myself, as I watched him clamp a beefy hand around my mother's arm and press her against the fridge. I would never be as big of a mess as him. I could see them arguing from the kitchen doorway, but unlike every other time I saw him manhandle her, I just didn't seem to have the fight in me to take him on. Or I just didn't have the strength, I thought dejectedly, as I forced myself to dig deep and do my duty. I had to protect the woman who bore me from the man who was responsible for 50% of my genetic makeup. Back off, I warned, stepping in between them and forcing him to release her arm. Ma'am had the cop on to bolt to the other side of the kitchen. But even more shockingly, Dad didn't throw a punch. "We were only talking," he said, offering me a rare explanation for his shitty behaviour. He's wary, I suddenly realised, of me. I don't care. My tone resembled how I felt, flat and empty, as I forced him to step aside when I yanked the fridge open. "Keep your hands to yourself, and we'll be peachy." Reaching inside the fridge, I grabbed a can of Coke off the top shelf and quickly snapped it open, feeling dry-mouthed and itchy. "I'm going out tonight," I added between gulps. "Don't know when I'll be back." "Suit yourself," Dad replied with a shrug as he moved towards the kettle. So, he's on the wagon again, I thought to myself, as I watched him make a cup of coffee. I'd give it a week. "I plan to," was my response, as I downed a can and quickly reached for another, feeling an unquenchable thirst inside of me. "Who are you going out with?" Ma'am asked, resuming her usual perch at the table. "Are you going right now? Because your father and I want to speak to you about a few things." "Friends, and yeah, I'm going now," I repeated flatly. "Just sit down and talk to us for a few minutes," she coaxed, pushing a chair out with her foot. "Please, Joey." Stiffening, I relented and walked over to the table. "What?" "Sit down." "Fine. I'm sitting. Now what?" She glanced over at my father, who walked over and took the seat at the head of the table opposite her. "Your mother is worried about you." I shrugged. "Okay." He continued to stir his coffee as he spoke. "Thinks you need counselling, or some nonsense like that." Ma'am sighed heavily. "Teddy." "What?" Dad tossed his spoon down and took a sip from his cup. "You know how I feel about that kind of thing, Marie. It's a load of bollocks. The young fella's grand. He's stretching his wings a bit." "With heroin," Ma'am cried, and then turned to look at me. "I know what you're doing. I know. And I want you to stop right this instant. Do you hear me, Joey? I want you to stop this." Okay. She blinked at me. Okay. Yeah. My hands were shaking. Everything hurt to the point I could hardly fucking breathe. I needed to get out of this house. I needed an out from the world I had been cast into. Whatever you say, ma'am. She didn't care. She didn't give a damn about me. All I was good for was holding the fort, for carrying the burden, for taking the weight off her shoulders. She didn't care. And that concept made me want to peel the skin from my bones. My own mother didn't give a fuck about me. Hell, I didn't give a fuck about me. But I cared about those kids that spent most of their lives cowering in their beds. Yeah, I cared a lot for them. The string that bonded us together, from my siblings' hearts to mine, was so forceful that it kept me bound to this house. It kept me trapped. See now, Marie. Dad nodded in approval. The young fella's grand. He's not fine, Teddy, Ma'am said in a pleading tone. One look at his eyes, and you can tell that he's not even here with us right now. He's sitting here, isn't he? You know that's not what I mean. Can I go now? I asked, glancing between the two of them. I don't want you to go out, Ma'am said, worrying her lip. I don't think it's a good idea. Fuck's sake, Marie, Dad snapped. He's going out to celebrate his 18th. Don't be such a pain in the hole. But I just don't think. Then stop thinking, Dad snapped. It doesn't suit you. Wait, Ma'am called out when I stood and moved for the door. There's something else we wanted to tell you. Stiffening, I kept my back to them and waited to hear what I knew in my heart was about to come out of her mouth. There's always a reason for my father being on the wagon, and it usually resulted in the "we have something to tell you" speech. I closed my eyes and waited for my world to shatter around me. We're going to have another baby, Ma'am told me. And there it was. The last ounce of hope left in my heart being snuffed out. Congratulations, I reeled out numbly as I moved for the door, knowing that even though I was getting out tonight, this baby only tightened the chains around my ankles. I was completely fucking unraveling, and I couldn't stop it from happening. It had happened. I had finally hit my limit. I had nothing left in the tank, nothing left to give these people. I was done, gone, dead inside.
Birthday Breakdowns, December 23rd, 2004. Aoife. I was in love with an addict. It was as humiliating as it was heartbreaking. Joey's incessant need to snort God only knew what up his nose had overtaken his need for me. I felt like I was the other woman in a twisted love triangle between him, my heart, and his latest drug of choice. I watched him the other night. He didn't even try to hide it, and instead of doing the right thing for me, I did the safe thing for him. I took him into my bed and into my body. Because I loved him. Because I couldn't stop fighting for the boy that I knew was still inside of him. Even now, as I dolled myself up to meet him out in town for his birthday, I couldn't silence the voice inside of me that demanded I have some respect for myself. I had always considered myself to be a strong girl, but right now, as I tried to look at myself in the mirror with my head held high, I never felt like such a fake. So weak, so small, so fucking uncertain. Coming out tonight was a mistake. I'd known it the moment I caught a glimpse of Joey's black eyes, and I knew it now. Whatever he'd taken with his asshole buddies in the bathroom earlier had morphed him into a walking, breathing Duracell bunny. All he was short of doing was climbing the walls. "What's he jacked up on?" Casey asked, slipping her arm through mine as we sat in the corner of Biddy's back lounge and watched on as my boyfriend buzzed around the room, unable to stand still for longer than 30 seconds at a time. "Jesus, Eve, he's wired to NASA." "I know," I squeezed out, watching as he stumbled his way through a conversation with a few of the lads from his hurling team, downing shots and laughing like a maniac. With his arms flying around animatedly, he looked the opposite of his usual self, as if that version of him even existed anymore. "Do you want to leave?" my best friend asked, resting her head on my shoulder. "We can get out of here, leave Tigger and the rest of his pals from the 100-acre wood to it, and have a girly night at my place instead." "I can't," I replied, watching on nervously as I waited for him to crash and burn. "You can't control him, Eve," she said softly. "He's his own person. Joey Lynch is going to do what he's going to do, regardless of the consequences." "I don't want to control him, Case," I whispered. "I want to stop himself from self-destructing." "Only he can do that, babe," she said softly, "and no amount of wanting it for him will work until he wants it for himself." "Joey!" Everything had been going relatively fine until Joey, along with a group of boys from his estate, had all but flipped out and jumped clean over the wall of the outdoor smoking area. Bleary-eyed and tipsy, I stumbled out the back door of Biddy's, pushing past the crowd and kicking off my high heels in my rush to chase him down. "Aoife, just leave him!" Casey called after me, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. Running down the alleyway, I quickly cut across the street I'd last seen him and kept running until I turned a corner in town and my feet came to an abrupt stop. "Joey!" I screamed, mouth hanging open. "What the hell are you doing?" Laughing like a deranged maniac, my boyfriend stood on the bonnet of a Mercedes-Benz parked just outside one of the pubs we both knew that his father drank in, and rammed his fists into the windscreen. "Joey!" I screamed, watching in horror as his recently scabbed over knuckles reopened and started bleeding. Several of his asshole friends from the terrace were watching on and encouraging this absolute madness, clearly delighted with his outburst. They were laughing like ruining his life was some big joke to them. Bastards. "Joe, stop!" I screamed, pushing my hair out of my eyes as I raced up the street towards him. "You're going to get arrested!" Joey laughed, clearly out of his fucking mind on whatever they'd given him, as he continued to pummel the luxury model with his bloodied knuckles. The sound of sirens in the distance had my heart thundering in my chest. "Leave him alone, girl," one of the lads shouted out. "Give the lad a break." "Go fuck yourself," I snapped, climbing onto the bonnet of the car, knowing full well that my ass was on full display for all of his so-called friends and everyone else watching his meltdown, but not giving a damn. "Stop!" I ordered, catching a hold of his closed fists before he could do any more damage. "Joey!" His blood trickled onto my hands as I closed them over his fists and forced him to still. "Stop!" He was breathing hard, still laughing like a crazy person as tears flowed down his cheeks. "Stop!" He mimicked my voice and then laughed harder. "Stop! Stop! Fucking stop!" His voice cracked and his expression caved. "Stop," he whispered, shaking now, pushing his bloodied hands through his rain-soaked hair. "Make it stop." My heart cracked clean open in my chest at his words. "Shite, lads, the shades!" one of his prick friends called out as they all ran in opposite directions. "Scatter!" Panicked, I did the only thing I could do in this moment. I slid off the bonnet of the car, took Joey's bloody hand in mine, and pulled him down to the ground with me. "Malloy." He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "What are you—" "Come on, Joe," I coaxed, desperately trying to get through to him as I reached for his hand. "Come with me." And then, with his hand firmly clamped in mine, I led him away from the scene of the crime, incriminating myself further into this world that I had no business being a part of. Literally shaking from the adrenaline rushing through my bloodstream, I kept my hand welded to Joey's for the entire stumbling run back to my house, too afraid to let go out of fear of what he might do next. "He's left a hole inside of you," I told him as I dragged him along after me. "It's trauma, Joey." Releasing a pained growl when we reached my street, I found myself desperately trying to reason with the unreasonable. "You're traumatized and you need professional help." "I'm fine." "Joey, you are about the furthest from fine a person can get."
"Leave it alone, Malloy," he muttered. "I don't want to fight with you."
"And I don't want you to die," I screamed, tears falling freely now as my emotions got the better of me. There was something so tragic about this boy, something that I wanted to keep. "Don't you care about yourself? Not even a little bit?"
"It doesn't matter."
He shook his head.
"None of this matters."
"Yes, it does," I heard myself shout. "It fucking does."
"Malloy."
"It matters because you matter," I cried, glancing down at my blood-stained hands. "It matters because I love you."
"I'm sorry I fucked your night up,"
he decided to go with.
"I'll make it up to you."
"I don't want you to make it up to me, Joey. I want you to talk to me," I begged him. "Just open up to me, Joe. If you tell me what's going on inside of your head, then maybe I can help." I batted a tear from my cheek and cried, "Then maybe we can start getting a handle on this."
"I'm not okay,"
he roared, yanking his hand away from mine.
"Is that what you want me to admit? Is that what you want to hear, Malloy? That I'm not okay?"
"Yes," I cried, feeling both relief and devastation flood my body. "That's what I want you to admit. I want the words, Joey. I want all of your words."
"Pain!"
he roared into my face, eyes alight with temper as his shadow danced with his demons.
"On the outside, on the inside, all around me. Pain so fucking strong I'm drowning in it."
He ran his blood-stained hands through his hair, tinging his blonde hair a faint crimson colour.
"That's what I feel. That's all I feel. All the fucking time."
My heart spliced open. "Joe,
do you want to hear about how often I pissed the bed out of fright until he literally beat the piss, blood and snot out of me?"
he roared, tears flowing down his cheeks now too.
"Because that happened, Malloy. I was weak. I cried, I begged, I hit, I ran. And then when all of that failed, I fought back. I stood the fuck up and fought back. It didn't work in the beginning. He still smacked the shit out of me, but at least I felt like I was doing something."
Chest heaving, he ran his hands through his hair.
"And now I feel nothing.
I feel nothing, and I'm fine with that. And you are entitled to feel that way, I screamed back at him. Your father has put you through hell. None of what happens in that house is on you. Not one bit of it. You've grown up in a war zone. You've done a phenomenal job. Stop. He held a hand up in warning. My true colours are ugly, Malloy. Stop looking for the good in me because it's not there to find. I promise. Because I know that I love you, but in all honesty, if I could forget you, I would. The words were like a bucket of ice to my face. I sucked in a sharp breath. You don't mean that. I used to think that I wasn't like him, that I was different, but you can't change DNA. Choking out a sob, he roughly batted his tears away before saying, Look at me, Malloy. Look at who I am. Look the fuck at what I've done to you. I'm just like him. No. Shaking my head, I stalked right over to him and grabbed his face in my hands, roughly, raw, sincerely refuting his deepest fear. You are nothing like him. Yes, I am. He strangled out, breaking free from my hold as he staggered away from me. And if you don't get away from me soon, you're going to end up just like my mother. It was Christmas Eve, babe. December 24th, 2004. Aoife. Joey disappeared after that, and I hadn't been able to get a hold of him since. By late Christmas Eve night, I was frantic with worry, and after searching every one of his haunts and hangouts, including his house, I found myself standing at the front door of a house that caused the hairs on the back of my neck to stand on end. After several rounds of incessant knocking, the door finally swung inwards, and I was greeted with the sight of a man I hated almost as much as Teddy Lynch. Maybe even more. Is he here? I asked shakily. Adrenaline was pumping through my body at a rapid rate, making me shiver and tremble, but I forced myself to stand tall. I refused to back down from this piece of shit. What am I saying? Of course he's here. It's the only place left for him to go. Shane smiled cruelly. Who? Bastard. You damn well know who. I hissed through clenched teeth, glaring up at his bloodshot eyes. Send him out. He smirked. He actually fucking smirked at me. Go home, princess. Catching a hold of the cigarette that was balancing between his lips, Shane stubbed it out with his fingers and placed the long butt behind his ear. There's nothing left here for you. Like hell there wasn't. He moved to shut the door in my face, but I stuck my foot in the doorway to block him. You have something that belongs to me, I hissed, chest heaving now. And I'm not going anywhere until I get him back, you jumped-up fucking scumbag. Fiery little ride, aren't you? He mused, taking my measure. I can see the appeal. No wonder Lynchy lets you bust his balls. You must be a firecracker in the bedroom. Listen, prick, you can send my boyfriend out here, or I can come in and get him. Narrowing my eyes, I pushed at the door as hard as I could, forcing him to take several steps into his hallway. Either way, I'm not leaving without him. Shane's hand shot out faster than I anticipated, fingers wrapping around my throat. What did you say to me? Let go of my throat, and I'll say it again, asshole, I choked out, clawing my nails into his beefy hand. Have you any idea who you're talking to? He mused, eyes dancing with a mixture of malice and heat. "Hmm?" he squeezed, not tight enough to choke me, more like scare me. Unwilling to back down, I glared right back at him, daring him with my eyes to do whatever he had to do because I wasn't leaving. After a tense stare down, a laugh tore from his throat and he released me. "You're a crazy bitch." He chuckled, swinging the door inwards and gesturing for me to come inside. "By all means, be my guest." "Joey?" Furious, I barged past him and stalked down the dilapidated hallway, stepping over empty beer cans and cigarette butts, throwing doors open as I went, feeling more frantic with every step I took. "Joey!" "He can't hear you, princess." Shane chuckled from behind me. "He's not here right now." "Fuck you," I seethed, rushing in and out of every room downstairs before bolting up the staircase and starting the same process up there. On the last door, when I'd given up hope, I stumbled upon my worst nightmare. There was a stained mattress on the floor. Alongside the mattress was a metal spoon with some dark, syrupy-looking stains, a lighter, and a tiny plastic bag with some brownish powder inside. Strewn on top of the filthy mattress was my boyfriend, with his eyes rolling back in his head and a needle dangling from the crook of his arm. My heart, the same heart I didn't think could be broken any more than it already had, cracked into a bazillion more pieces. "Joe!" My hand sprang up to cover my mouth as I battled with the image my mind was assuring me wasn't a nightmare, but reality. "Joey!" Nothing. "We were supposed to be spending the day together," I cried, stumbling towards him. The smell of his sorrow was all around me, and I honestly felt like I was going to die of a broken heart as I felt myself hemorrhage from the inside. Kicking the contraband away from his body like it would somehow make everything better, I knelt down beside him and undid the tie that was cutting off the circulation in his arm. "Joe, can you hear me?" Nothing. Sniffling back a sob, I gingerly reached out and pulled the syringe out of his arm before throwing it at the other side of the room. "Joe!" Soft groaning was the only response I got. "Get up!" I begged, pulling on his shoulders in my pathetic attempt to get him up. "Malloy." "It's me!" I cried, tears falling fast now as I managed to pull him into a sitting position. "I'm here, Joe." "Aoife, you've got to come with me, okay?" Sniffling back another sob, I managed to get him to drag himself to his feet. "I'm going to take you someplace safe, okay?" "Malloy." "I've got you." Hooking one arm around his back, I draped his arm over my shoulder and unsteadily dragged him towards the door. "It's okay, Joe. Just lean on me. I've got you." How I managed to get us both down the staircase in one piece was beyond me, but I didn't have time to think about it, because Shane and his goons were waiting for us in the hallway, which put me even more on edge than I already was. "You know, you should really let him sleep it off," Shane offered with a snicker. "Poor lad can't even get high without the missus busting his bollocks." "For fuck's sake, Holland, don't be a dick. Can't you see the poor girl's in a bad way over a lad?" Another, much bigger, much older bearded man with a distinctive Belfast accent said. He then walked over to where I was attempting to hold up a semi-comatose Joey and hoisted him upright. "Where's your car, love?" he asked. "I'll carry him over to it for you." As much as I wanted to tell them all to go to hell, I needed the help. "It's outside," I sniffled, and then moved for the door, only to quickly glance over my shoulder to make sure the man was following me with Joey. Thankfully he was. Hurrying over to my car, I quickly unlocked the passenger door and swung it open. Will he be okay? I heard myself ask, feeling acutely small and young in that moment. Should I take him to the hospital? Here I was, on Christmas Eve night, bawling like a baby on the side of the road, while some beefed-up gangster put my boyfriend in the car for me. Jesus Christ. No, love, he'll be grand, and so he will. The big man assured me as he settled Joey into the passenger seat. He even went as far as fastening his seatbelt around him. Take him someplace safe and let him sleep it off. Was that? Shaking my head, I exhaled a ragged breath and strangled out, Heroin. The man didn't answer. What do I do? Another harsh cry escaped me. How do I help him? He'll be grand, the man told me. He's not too far gone to be pulled back, and with a lass like you in his corner, he'll come right. Don't you worry. I stared up at him, feeling a wave of anger, curiosity, and gratitude wash over me. Why did you help me tonight? Because I was your lad here once upon a time, and I wish somebody had helped my wife before I became what I am, and she became my ex. And then he turned around and walked back inside the house, leaving me alone with Joey. Hiccuping out another sob, I rounded the car and climbed into the driver's seat. Shaking like a leaf, I slowly fastened my seatbelt and stuck the key in the ignition. She's pregnant, Joey whispered from beside me, lips mashing together clumsily. Who? My mother. Jesus. I was so reeling that I honestly didn't know what to say. Groaning in pain, he slurred, I'm sorry, Malloy. So fucking sorry. I know you are, I sniffled, cranking the engine. I know, Joe. Love. I felt my body tense when he clumsily reached across the car and tried to pat my thigh. You, Malloy. Tell me when you're sober, I replied, giving his hand a gentle squeeze. It won't count tonight. Why won't it count, Malloy? Because you won't remember it, I whispered sadly.
Reality checks and dawning awareness. December 25th, 2004. Joey. When I opened my eyes, it was to a room full of mid-morning sunshine and a pillow of blonde hair in my face. Naked as the day I was born, I had my arm thrown over a blonde who had her equally naked back to me. Pain undiluted and toxic instantly flooded my chest, seeping through every vein and artery in my body until I could feel nothing but misery. Darkness enveloped me, sucking in a pained breath when the familiar pang of hunger clawed at my throat. I tightened my fists, locking my muscles into place. My hunger wasn't for food, it was for heroin. Disgusted, I thought about how far I had fallen, how I had let myself become my father. I was poisoned on the inside just like he was. I couldn't get beyond it. This hereditary weakness handed down to me by the person I hated most in this world would forever eat me alive from the inside out. Addiction had settled deep inside me like a leech attaching itself to a blood-filled carcass, frozen to the spot, and with my stomach twisted up in knots, I desperately tried to rake through my hazed thoughts, until the familiar scent of her shampoo flooded my senses. Malloy. Heaving a huge sigh of relief, I shifted closer to her warm body and pressed a kiss to her bare shoulder. She sniffled in response. I froze. She sniffled again. Ah, fuck. She choked out a sob. The last few days' events came trickling back to me, bit by bit, and my blood ran cold as shame enveloped me in its familiar embrace. No, fuck, no. Malloy. My voice was strangled and torn. Baby, I'm so fucking... You're not good for me, she whispered brokenly, clinging to the hand I had wrapped around her. I get that now. Her fingers dug into my forearm. But it doesn't stop my heart from loving you, or my head from wanting you. I could feel her pain. It was hemorrhaging out of her chest and pouring straight into mine. She was the only person I'd ever loved that hadn't been produced from between my mother's legs. That was a horrible fucking image, but I meant it. I cared very little about anything or anyone besides the children who shared my bloodline, because those poor defenseless bastards shared my misfortune. But I cared about the girl in my arms. I cared an awful lot about this girl. You might be the addict in this relationship, but you're also the habit that I need to kick. She strangled out, chest heaving, as she turned in my arms to face me. Because I feel like I'm dying when I'm with you. I feel like I'm dead when I'm not. Her tears were on my shoulder. I could feel them. It shook me to my fucking core. I wanted to make it up to her, show her the better side of me. But I was just so fucking tired. I was bone weary, on the inside and out. Her eyes were red and swollen. There was no morality in this. No one needed to love me if it meant that it hurt them this deeply. Aoife, what was left of my heart cracked clean open in my chest. It kills me that I've done this to you. And I can't walk away, because I know that there's still a little bit of you left in there, she choked out, placing her hand over the part of my chest that bore her name. She sniffled another sob and whispered, which means that I'm going to keep on loving you, Joy Lynch. So you might want to start thinking about stopping breaking my heart. Curling up against me, she buried her face in my chest and continued to cry. Her long blonde hair was all around us, her shoulders completely slumped, and I forced myself to take a good, hard look at the destruction I'd caused. This is why you don't have nice things, my conscience hissed, while my lungs constricted to the point that I couldn't fucking breathe. Because you break them. Feeling my way through the haze of drugs and feelings, I watched her break down right there in my arms, while I wrestled the evil bastard demon inside of my head, the one that refused to let me do right by this girl. The harder I fought to take control of this piece of shit person I'd morphed into, the stronger the demon became. I'm sorry, was all I could whisper as I held her. I'm so fucking sorry." The louder she cried, the tighter my lungs squeezed until she was full on screaming into my chest. And I was full on dying on the inside. And only then did I find the strength to do what needed to be done. Only then did I find the strength to save her. From me.
Christmas morning, December 25th, 2004. Aoife. It was Christmas morning. It was also Joey's 18th birthday. But instead of celebrating either, I found myself welded to his chest, holding onto his body with all of my strength, because I had a horrible feeling that once he left my bed, he wouldn't come back. The physical abuse Joey had been subjected to, the emotional neglect, physical scarring, and sheer pressure he endured from a lifetime of holding the fort and raising children that didn't belong to him, had finally broken something pivotal inside of his mind. He'd given up on himself. I could see it in his eyes last night. The same look was there when he woke up this morning, and it scared me to death. He was sick. He was so damn unwell, and I was out of my depth trying to help him out of something I didn't understand. I wanted to rescue him, to shield him from the horrors he had been born into. I wanted to be his armor when he couldn't fight back. I wanted to wade into battle for him, protect his beautiful soul. But I'd been so determined to save him that I hadn't noticed I'd lost myself in the process. Our love was toxic. "This is toxic," Joey strangled out, voicing my thoughts aloud as he held me in his arms, squeezing my body just as tightly as I was squeezing his. "I'm toxic for you." "I don't care," I cried, delirious from a horrible concoction of love and heartache. "I still want you." "That's the point," he croaked out, voice cracking as he gently dissembled our joined bodies and climbed out of my bed. "I'm fucking toxic to you." "What are you doing?" I asked shakily, watching as he quickly reached for his dishevelled clothes that were thrown in a pile, along with mine, on my bedroom floor. "Joey? What are you doing?" "Please don't make it any harder. We both know that I need to go." Blowing out a shaky breath, he refused to look at me while he dressed, his movements clumsy because of the severe tremor running through his body. "This needs to end, and you need to let me do this for you, okay?" "What? No!" Panic seared me. "No, this doesn't have to end. I don't believe that, and neither do you." "Malloy." Hollow green eyes, paired with circles so dark they could have been mistaken for bruises, locked on mine. Hell, knowing my boyfriend like I did, those probably were bruises under his eyes. "I have to leave," he choked out. "All of the pain, all of the dumb, fucked up shit I've put you through." His voice cracked, and I watched as he dragged in a pained breath, clearly suffering as much in the moment as I was. "I should have ended this a long time ago." "No!" Springing off the mattress, I quickly closed the space between us, needing him to stay right here with me. "Don't." Wrapping my arms around him, I buried my face in his neck, holding onto his body for all I was worth. It's okay, I'm fine, we're fine. Don't talk like that. God!" Instantaneously, Joy's arms came around my body, making me feel so fucking safe it hurt. It didn't make sense how he could do that to me, make me feel like nothing could hurt me when I was in his arms, when the truth was very different. Silence settled between us then, with so many unspoken words dancing on the tips of our tongues while we just held each other. I could feel it all in this moment. Every hurt word that had been echoed throughout the course of our fucked up relationship. Every kiss, every touch, every fight, every scream, every midnight flash of madness that had led us to this moment in time. Listen, I want you to know something, he said quietly, clenching my hip with his hand. I want you to know that you've been the best part of my day, every day since I was 12 years old. Don't, Joe. Voice breaking, my heart hammered violently as tears spilled down my cheeks. I don't want to hear this. Not when I knew where it would lead. It's true. Tipping my chin up with his free hand, he forced me to look at him. My life has been a shitstorm from day dot, Malloy, and the whole goddamn town knows it. I've never had calm. But you... His tear-filled eyes implored me to hear him. You're like an island. Somewhere for me to go and escape. Somewhere safe. Somewhere to anchor me, if that even makes sense. And I took advantage of that when I had no right to. I was selfish when I dragged you into my world. Now I need to put you first. A tear slid down my cheek as his words only enforced what I already knew to be true, that I would never get over this boy. Then put me first by not doing this, because I don't want this, Joey. I don't want your goodbyes. You might not want me to say goodbye, but you need me to. And then he cut me deeper than a guillotine ever could when he added, I was always going to fuck this up, Malloy. With a resigned look, he slowly released me and backed away. I'm only sorry that I didn't put you first sooner. Oh my fucking God! I screamed, throwing my hands up in frustration and panic as I watched him walk away from me. You just love ripping the rug out from under my feet, don't you? When he didn't answer, I screamed, Fine, walk away. With a small shake of his head, he moved for the window. Go on. Desperately trying to save face while my heart shattered to pieces in my chest, I hissed, Get the fuck out! My heart hammered as I desperately resisted the urge to stop him from climbing out of my bedroom window. Off you go! I spat instead, bawling like a baby as I watched him leave. Turning your back on us at the first sign of trouble. Because I'm not good for you! Joey roared, climbing back through my window and stalking back towards where I was standing. Fuck, Malloy, don't you get it? I'm not fucking good for you. Last night was just a taster of how it will be because I can't change, okay? Reckless, I grabbed his neck and pulled his face down to mine, kissing him hard and rough and furiously. He kissed me back with equal passion and hunger as he fisted handfuls of my hair and clutched my face between his hands. Don't do this, I cried against his lips, feeling my tears mix with his. Please. He pressed one final kiss to my brow before stepping away from me. If I don't walk away from you now, I never will. And then he disappeared out of my bedroom window, dropping onto the roof of the shed below. Joey! I cried, leaning out the window. Don't do this! With one final glance at me, he pulled his hood up, dropped to the ground and called out, I'll be seeing you, Malloy, over his shoulder. And then he was gone.
Cut from the same cloth. December 25th, 2004, Joey. Shook to my core. I made my way home on autopilot, barely managing to put one foot in front of the other. while an internal war raged on inside of me. My heart was demanding that I turn my ass around and go back to her and beg her to forgive me for something that my brain knew I would do again. Because that's what would happen. I couldn't get out of this. I couldn't break the fuck free, and taking her down with me was out of the question. Feeling worse than I had in a very long time, I ignored multiple groups of children and young families playing out on the streets with their new bikes and scooters as I crossed through her estate and headed across the bridge towards mine. Don't do this. Don't walk away from her. She's the only good thing you've got going for you. She's the only one who gives a shit about you. With my hood pulled up, I ignored all of my selfish thoughts, urges, and instincts, knowing that I needed to put her first this time. And putting her first meant that I needed to put space between us. Do it for her. Give her a chance at normal. Don't drag her down with you. She's too good for you. All right, Lynchy. Jason O'Driscoll, a.k.a. Dicko. One of the lads from my terrace called out as I walked past him. I smelled the familiar scent of weed wafting from the rollie he was balancing between his fingers. Happy Christmas!
All right, Dicko, I replied, stopping to acknowledge a lad who used to be in my year at BCS, until he dropped out after our junior cert in third year.
We had hurled together, all the way up through underage club level as well, until life caught up with him. How's the small fella of yours keeping? Did Santa come? Luke, he's grand, he replied, as he lounged against the side of his baby mama's dilapidated house in a pink, frilly dressing gown. He's only a year and a half, so he doesn't have a notion of what's happening. Exhaling a cloud of smoke, he held out the rollie, offering me a drag. Smoke? Nah, I'm good. I shook my head and kept my hands firmly clamped in the front pocket of my hoodie. How's Sam keeping nowadays? I offered instead, as my thoughts cast to another one of my former classmates. Are you living with her now? I asked, gesturing to the council house I knew she had been given not long after she had his baby. Am I fuck? He choked out a laugh. I've my own life to be living. Sam handles the kid. I cocked a brow. Pretty sure she had one of those too, lad, before you saddled her with your son at 16. Ah, you know what I mean, Dicko hurried to add, having the good grace to look sheepish. Don't get me wrong, she's a great mam. Luke's lucky to have her, because I sure as hell don't know what to do with him.
But the girl thinks she owns me because she had a kid off me.
Again, I just stared blankly.
Seriously, it's a fucking nightmare. I can't move without her, Joe. She's constantly breathing down my goddamn neck, he muttered, bitterly casting an erring glance to the front door. I'm surprised she let me come outside for a smoke without chasing after me.
I shrugged. Maybe if you did a little more staying, she wouldn't have to do so much chasing. That's easy for you to say, he shot back with a chuckle. When you've got that little ride from Rosewood Estate to stay put for. You were lucky that she was there the night of your 18th to hide you after you went nuclear on that car. He continued to give me a dose of my own medicine by adding, the guards were scouring the terrace for the culprit. I didn't answer him. I couldn't. because Malloy's face was instantly at the forepart of my mind, and my guilt was fucking choking me.
What have I got to stick around for?
He continued to rant. Shitty nappies, overdue bills, constant nagging,
And a screaming baby?
He shook his head. Nah, lad.
Step into my shoes for a week, and you wouldn't belong coming off that high horse.
The front door swung inwards then, and Drico released a pained growl.
See what I mean?
He wants her father, Sam snapped, red-faced and teary-eyed, as she stood in the doorway, with a small, dark-haired infant balancing on her hip.
Yeah, well, his father's busy.
Drico tossed over his shoulder.
Tell him that his mother will have to do.
He's your son too, Jason. It's Christmas morning. You could at least pretend like you're interested in him for more than 30 seconds. Sam bit out before her gaze landed on me. Oh, hey, Joey. Sam, inclining my head in acknowledgement, forcing myself to take in the sight before me. Take one look at her, asshole. This right here is how you know you did the right thing. My brain hissed. I felt validated as I locked eyes on the girl that I grew up alongside that had become a mother before her time. I was no different to Drico. We shared the familiar misfortune of being born to young mothers and asshole fathers. We were cut from the same cloth. But I would make damn sure that Malloy had a different future to the one stretching out in front of Samantha McGuinness. Happy Christmas. Thanks. And the same to you, Joe, she replied, giving me a long, lonesome look before turning her attention back to her fella. Well, are you coming inside or not?
When I'm ready.
Jason?
Keep nagging, and you'll be eating dinner on your own with the kid, he warned, exhaling another cloud of smoke.
I'm doing you a favour by being here, Sam.
I told you that I'd come round last night to see the kid open his presents, but I'm not your fucking bellboy.
You did more than come around, she spat, voice trembling. You spent the night. Right, I'm off, I muttered, striding off down the footpath, before I got dragged into their domestic. I didn't have the heart or the energy to deal with anyone else's drama this morning. My head was full, and my shoulders were buckling under the pressure of my own shit. I could feel my phone vibrating in my pocket, but I didn't reach for it. I couldn't. Because if I glanced at that screen and saw her name flashing, I knew I wouldn't be strong enough to reject her call.
Joey!
Ollie was standing in the doorway when I stepped foot in the garden a few minutes later. Santa came, Joey. He's been to our house this year. He came. Did he? I replied, somehow managing to muscle up the enthusiasm he needed from me in that moment. That's because you've been washing your ears properly. Uh-huh. Nodding brightly, my little brother grabbed my hand and dragged me inside. You were right, Joe. You said he would come if I scrubbed them good, and he came. Good morning, Ma'am greeted me in the front hall, clad in the same old dressing gown she always wore, the one Darren bought her the Christmas before he left. It didn't matter that she had been given a new one since. She continued to cling to the past and her firstborn by wearing the thread-worn robe. Happy birthday. Oh, shoots! I forgot! Ollie yelped, slapping his forehead. Happy birthday, Joey! Cheers, kid, I replied, before asking my mother. Where is he? Bed? Good. repressing a shudder of revulsion when my eyes landed on my mother's stomach. I focused on the outstretched arms of the toddler on her hip. "How's my Shaney Poo?" I asked, lifting him into my arms. "Did Santa come to my Shaney?" "Owie!" Shane babbled, pressing his spit-slobbered hand on my cheek. "Owie!" Sidestepping my mother, I moved for the sitting room, where Tag was sitting under the tree, looking exceptionally dejected in comparison to our younger brothers. "You didn't come home," he accused, not bothering to look up from the toy train he was holding in his hands. "I know. Where were you?" Out. Out where? None of your business." My brows furrowed. "You got a train?" Tag nodded stiffly. "Yeah." "But you're almost 12. "I know." "You haven't played with trains since you were 7. "I know." "That's probably for Sean or Ollie," I offered, setting Sean down and reaching for the wrapping paper. "Ma, Santa must have put the wrong name on it. It's not," Tag replied quietly, holding a gift tag up for me. "It's for me." Boy, aged 7, 11. The blue gift tag read, and I felt sick, suddenly knowing exactly where the sparse amount of presents under the tree had come from. Ballylagan's charity Christmas toy appeal. Because in this town our family was considered a charity case. "What did you get?" I forced myself to ask Ollie, striving for all I was worth to keep my tone light. "Oh, I got this super cool game," he explained, reaching for a travel-size edition of Connect 4. "Got," Tag corrected wearily. "It's got, not gots." "Got," Ollie chimed back. "And Shaney got this glowing worm." "Got." Got," Ollie repeated, grinning up at me. "Want to play, Joe?" "No. I want to die." "Maybe later," I replied. "But you should go check my room. Maybe Santa left something in there." 3 pairs of widened brown eyes locked on me. "Again?" I shrugged. "You never know." "You absolute legend," Tag hooted, bolting past me for the staircase. "Come on, Sean," Ollie squealed, pulling the baby of the family up the rickety staircase after him. "I bet Santa hid the good presents in Joey's room again this year." "Yes!" I heard Tag cheer from upstairs. "Deadly!" Shaking my head, I ignored the vibrating in my pocket and stalked into the kitchen, to where my mother was peeling potatoes. "You couldn't get them anything they wanted?" I demanded in a hushed tone. "Not even a fucking football?" "I didn't have any money left over after the groceries," she replied, blushing. "You couldn't spare a tenner?" I demanded, throwing my hands up. "Tag was gutted in there. He's not a baby anymore, ma'am. He knows where those presents come from, and it's fucking humiliating for him." "I know. I've been him. I've been the kid whose friends' parents donated their unwanted shit to. It's horrible." Ma'am sniffled. "Yeah, well, I'm sure whatever you bought him will save the day." There was an edge to her tone, and it got my back up. I narrowed my eyes. "You're pissed with me because I saved your ass again." "No, I'm not pissed with you. I'm embarrassed. I feel bad enough about it, Joey. I really do," she mumbled, keeping her chin tucked down as she clumsily peeled the potatoes. So please, spare me the third degree. You can't afford the kids you already have, so you decide that it would be the perfect time to throw another into the mix. I couldn't stop myself from throwing at her. What's going to happen to this one if you can't look after it? Because I'm not doing it again. Do you hear me? I'm not mothering another newborn. She flinched like I struck her. There's nothing you can say that will make me feel worse than I already do. Leaning a hip against the counter, I stared at her and asked, "What about the money I gave you? Couldn't you have bought them something with that?" She didn't respond. "Ma'am." "Nothing." "What did you do with the money I gave you?" "Your father owed some money," she finally admitted, voice barely more than a broken whisper. "It couldn't wait." Jesus Christ! That was €200! Blowing out a breath, I ran a hand through my hair in frustration. It was for you and the kids, not his gambling debts and bar ticks. Do you have any idea how long that took me to save up? I gabbed at her. "Ma'am, that was a week's wage to me. I won't be paid again until the new year, and neither will you." "I know," she whispered, sniffling. "I'm sorry." "And if the electric goes in the meantime?" I demanded, feeling panicked. "Or we run out of coal for the fire before either one of us gets paid next, what then?" "Joey." "How are we going to heat them, ma'am?" I choked out, heart thumping violently in my chest. "How are we going to keep them warm?" "I'll get paid my children's allowance money next week," she strangled out. "We'll cope until then." "Your children's allowance money?" I glared at her in disbelief. "You're depending on an income that he has always blown on drink to get us by." "Your father is off the drink," she was quick to defend. "He swears it this time." "Just stop!" Holding a hand up, I turned and walked out of the kitchen before I lost it. "I can't hear another word." "Joey, wait." "How long are we going to keep living like this, ma'am?" I tossed over my shoulder. "Because I'm really running on empty here." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe those kids would be better off in care." Moving for the staircase, I ignored my mother's pleading tone as she begged me to come back and talk to her, and hurried up to my room. "He didn't leave them under the tree. The silly Billy hid our presents in your wardrobe, Joe," Ollie exclaimed, clutching the weird-ass gizmo-looking creature he had begged Santa for. The one Malloy and I had queued up for hours in the pissing rain to secure. "See?" He held up the creepy doll creature for all to see. "Santa's the best." "Mind him," I warned. Fucker cost me half a week's wage. "Yeah." Setting his new hurley down on my bed, Tag walked over to where I was standing in the doorway and wrapped his arms around my waist, hugging me tightly. "He really is the best." "Oh-wee! Oh-wee!" Pulling on my leg and my jeans, Sean grappled for my attention. "Oh-wee!" Reaching down, he grabbed his Elmo and held it up for me. "Emo!" "Good job," I praised, sinking down to his level. "And see this fella?" I held the red teddy up to him. "He uses the potty, just like Shaney." "Happy birthday, Joe," Shannon said from behind me, and I swung around just in time to see her produce a homemade cake from behind her back. "I know you're 18 today," she added with a blush. but I could only find 4 candles. "Make a wish, Joe," Ollie cheered. "And don't tell us what it is, or it won't come true." "You made me a cake." Blushing a deeper shade of pink, my little sister nodded. I cocked a brow. "An edible cake? Is that so hard to believe?" She laughed. "I've been cooking your dinner for years, and I haven't poisoned you yet, have I?" "Not yet." Standing up, I ruffled her hair. "Thanks, Shan." "Did you get the CD Santa left on your nightstand?" "Yes." She beamed up at me. "He was most generous." "Come on, Joe," Ollie groaned. "Make a wish and blow out the candles. I want some cake." Tag sighed. "It's candles, not kangles." "That's what I said." "No, it's not." "Yes, it is." "Jesus. Don't start this shit already." Leaning in, I quickly blew out the candles before looking to my sister and saying, "You didn't have to do this for me." "I would do so much more if I could," she replied, leaning in for a half hug while she batted several small hands away from the cake. "I love you, Joe." "Owie!" Shani crooned, clutching my leg. "Owie!" "We all do," Tag begrudgingly agreed. "Love you, that is." "Uh-huh," Ollie added. "So much." "Yeah." I blew out a pained breath and took stock of the small human circling me. "Right back at you." I was officially 18 years old. I could walk right out the front door, and nobody could stop me. I could leave. I could be free. But the 4 small faces staring expectantly up at me were so defenseless, so utterly dependent on my ability to provide for and protect them, that I knew in my heart that I would never leave this house until I could take them with me. Whether it was love or duty that kept me shackled here, the lines were too blurred to differentiate. But one thing I was sure of was that I would never become to them what Darren had become to me. I would never abandon them. If I could do nothing else, then I would spare them that pain.
The Aftermath. December 27th, 2004. Aoife. The radio was blasting in the kitchen downstairs, tormenting me with the sound of Mary Black's Only a Woman's Heart as her voice drifted up the staircase, her melancholy lyrics wrapped around my already breaking heart. Numb, I curled up on my bed in the smallest ball I could, with my knees pressed to my chest, and fought to calm the hysteria drowning me. Pain encompassed every inch of my body, both internally and externally. I felt like I was hemorrhaging tears. They wouldn't stop falling. How I managed to survive Christmas dinner with my family without falling apart at the table, I would never know. I could only assume that it had a lot to do with the shock and adrenaline that had been thrashing through my veins, but that had long since deserted me. I knew my parents were worried about me. Aside from leaving the house to fulfill my shift at work this morning, I had spent the past 48 hours holed up in my room, which was a huge red flag. Considering the previous night was the biggest night out of the year, and I never missed a St. Stephen's night out on the tiles. Hell, even Kev had come knocking on my bedroom door, but I couldn't talk to him about it. If I talked about it, if I verbalized it out loud, then it would be real. And I was desperately clinging to the hope that I would somehow wake up from my nightmare and have everything go back to the way it was before. My breath was coming in short, achy gasps that clawed at my throat in protest because my heart didn't want me to breathe. My heart wanted me to slip into the deepest sleep of my life and wake up when it was over. The thought only made me cry harder. Because it was over. It was over, and I wasn't ready for it to be. I wasn't ready for him to leave me. But he had. All of my calls had gone unanswered, while my texts went unsent because I couldn't stop my hands from trembling long enough to type out a message. Breaking up with me had been a knife to the back, and ignoring me was just another cruel twist of the blade. I'd spent the bones of 4 years in a relationship with Paul, and never once in that entire space of time had he provoked such conflicted turmoil inside of my heart like Joey had. Like he continued to do. I didn't want to think of what Joey was doing now that we were over. I hoped he was as miserable as I was, but I wasn't going to hold my breath. He had been quick enough to run out and shit on our relationship. So what was to say he wouldn't drown this version of his sorrows inside another girl? Bullshit. A voice in my head hissed. That's your hurt talking, and you know it. Yeah, I knew that. I also knew that he loved me. It wasn't a matter of there being someone else in this instance. The only person getting in between us was Joey. Depression had its claws latched deep inside of me. My throat felt like sawdust, and my heart felt like it had been crushed to pieces. It was disintegrating in my chest, and I couldn't handle the sensation a second longer. Get up, my pride demanded. Don't you dare lie down like this. Forcing myself to unlock my rigid muscles, I slowly clambered off the bed and stood up on shaky legs, surprised that my body could balance itself after the knockout blow I'd taken. My heart sure as hell felt like it had been KO'd. My eyelashes felt thick and heavy from the sheer height of crying, and it took a few moments for the blurriness to recede and my vision to clear. That's it, the voice in my head coaxed. Now stay up. Breathing hard and ragged, I moved on autopilot, walking out of my room and into the bathroom. Locking the door behind me, I wobbled like a newborn foal towards the sink and then clutched the basin with a death grip, while I clenched my eyes shut and forced myself to smother the scream trying to escape me. Ah! The tearing sound ripped out of me, and I cringed, tightening my fingers on the porcelain rim until my knuckles turned white. You will not fall apart. I held my breath to steady the sobbing. You will not crumble. Trembling, I reached for my toothbrush and ran it under the cold tap before squeezing a dollop of toothpaste on the brush and shoving it into my mouth. I scrubbed my teeth with a viciousness that threatened to make my gums bleed. I didn't care. I just needed to wash it all away somehow. Erase everything. Nothing could do that for me, though. I kept thinking that if I had handled my emotions differently that morning, then maybe I could have prevented this. If I had only waited until he was stable enough to have a coherent conversation, then maybe we wouldn't have ended the way we had. Shaking my head, I pushed the thoughts away and focused on small, mundane tasks like rinsing my toothbrush, screwing the cap back on the paste, turning off the tap, setting my toothbrush back in its holder. Those I could manage. When I had regathered some semblance of self-control, I switched on the shower and stripped, peeling every stitch of clothing off before stepping under the blistering spray of scalding water. Yet I was frozen to the bone, trembling from head to toe, with my teeth chattering violently. I felt violated, I felt ripped fucking open. I want you to know that you've been the best part of my day for every day since I was 12 years old. His words continued to circle around in my mind until I felt like climbing into my car, driving to his house and throttling him. And then the image of how he looked on that mattress, with a needle in his arm and his eyes rolling back in his head, infiltrated my thoughts, and I wanted to hold him to my chest and never let go. No, scratch that. I wanted to die from the unfairness of it all. So, do you have a name, boy who can think for himself? Does it matter? We both know that you'll be calling me baby by the end of the day. Numb, I grabbed a bottle of shampoo from the rack and lathered my hair. Taking a clean face cloth, I soaked it under the water and then pressed it to my face, breathing in the hot steam. I'm not okay. Is that what you wanted me to admit? Is that what you want to hear, Malloy? That I'm not okay? Tearing at my face with the cloth, I roughly washed any residue makeup away and then stared lifelessly down at the white cloth streaked with a concoction of mascara, foundation, and lipstick. He will never want you more than he wants his next fix, Aoife. That's the sad truth of my son's life. Numb and broken, I switched off the shower and stepped out, wrapping myself in the biggest, fluffiest white towel I could find before padding back to my room. Music continued to waft from downstairs, and sound of laughter assured me that my parents had friends over for drinks. They did this every Christmas, and normally I would be the first one down there, sipping on cheap Prosecco and sharing some light-hearted, flirty banter with their friends' sons. Honestly, though, I didn't have the energy left to rustle up a smile, much less a conversation. I felt hollow. Exhaling a ragged breath when I climbed onto my bed, I reached for my phone and pressed the redial button. This is Joey. You know what to do. Beep. I don't love you, I whispered brokenly into the phone. A tear trickled down my cheek, and I clenched my eyes shut. I really, really don't love you, asshole.
Back to trying. December 28th, 2004. Joey. My father had fallen off the wagon before my mother had finished carving the turkey, and I ended up spending the rest of Christmas Day breaking up arguments and shielding my siblings from his swinging fists. It was during one of his whiskey tantrums that I found myself taking stock of my life. And I mean really taking stock of it. I felt trapped. I felt overwhelmed by responsibility. I felt angry. I felt hard done by. I felt wronged. But all those feelings paled in comparison to the feeling of shame that had come crashing down around me when I found myself wresting a bottle of whiskey from my father's hands on Christmas night and saw my future self staring back at me. I'd been knocked down many times in my life, but the cold, hard reality of knowing that I was turning into Teddy Lynch made me contemplate staying down. Like a wounded dog, I wanted to crawl into a hole and lick my wounds, because I was wounded. I was fucking breaking apart piece by piece, fueled further by the knowledge that my mother was right. This was my future. If I didn't do something to turn this around, I would become everything I hated. I would become another version of my father, of Drico, of Shane Holland, of Danny Fitz, of Philly Heffernan, of their fathers, and every other asshole from our area that had buried his head in powers, powder, and pussy. I was a disgrace, and I didn't want to be this person anymore. I was disgusted with how far I'd fallen. Above it all, at the top of my ladder of priorities, was Malloy. The devastation in her eyes, so similar to the pain my mother bore daily, was embedded in the forefront of my mind, unwilling to dilute or dissipate, no matter how much time passed. Her heartbroken expression when I climbed out of her window, the hurt in her voice, the angry words she had thrown in the heat of the moment. I had caused that pain. I had put that hurt in her eyes, and those words in her mouth. Me. Not my father, not my mother. It was all on me. The road I was travelling down scared the shit out of me, and the prospect of a future that resembled my parents' was the wake-up call that I needed. It was a wake-up call that had led me to spending an innate amount of time since that night with my head in the toilet. The horrible, familiar, sickly cold bead of sweat trickled down the back of my neck, dampening my brow, my lip, and every other inch of my skin, as I fought against the insurmountable demon inside of my head that demanded I stop fighting and just feed it. Trembling violently, I kept my limbs locked tight, my muscles rigid, as I fought what felt like a hopeless battle. 1 more hour. I mentally challenged myself. Give it all you've got for 1 more hour. And if it still hurts as bad, you can call him. Coaxing myself like this was how I had made it through the last 72 hours. The thought of having to feel this way forever was too huge a concept and too fucking demoralizing. So I concentrated on a period of time that I could tolerate. 1 hour at a time. I could do that. Are you still sick? Tag asked, dragging me from my thoughts as he stood in the bathroom doorway and watched me hug the toilet. Jesus, lad, you've been puking since Christmas. He's still sick? Shannon appeared in the doorway, her eyes laced with concern. Oh my God, Joe. Should I call the doctor? No. Cradling the bowl, I continued to retch and tremble. Teeth chattering. I forced myself to swallow down a wave of nausea before finishing. I'll be grand. What's wrong with you? Tag demanded, sounding anxiously frustrated. Is it a bug? He eyed me wearily. Can we catch it? No, it's not contagious. Pausing. I heaved and retched as another flood of clear liquid ejected itself from my body. Will one of you do me a favour? Yeah, of course, they both chimed. Reaching into the pocket of my sweats, I retrieved my phone and held it out for them. Hide it, huh? You want us to hide your phone? Tag asked, tone incredulous. Why? Please just take it. I bit out through clenched teeth as a wave of nausea washed over me. Hide it somewhere. Fucking break it if you have to. Just don't give it back to me. What if you get mad at us? Shannon asked uncertainly. I won't. But what if you do? Tag piped up. I won't, I snapped. Fuck! You're getting mad now, he reminded me. Please. I whisper hissed. Please, just do this for me. I never ask any of you for anything. Can I keep it? Shannon sighed heavily. No, Tag. You can't keep his phone. But he said that we could break it. Surely that means he doesn't want it. He wants his phone, Shannon countered. But he just doesn't want it right now, she added. He'll have it back when the time is right. Then why don't you take it? Because I'm weak. And I'll give it back to him the minute he asks for it. So that's not what he needs us to do for him. Okay, none of this makes any sense to me. Tag! I snapped. Fuck! All right. Sauntering into the bathroom, my little brother snatched up my phone and quickly pocketed it. Consider it done. But don't come bitching to me when you're out of credit and can't call your girlfriend. I plan on taking full advantage of this baby. How do you block your number when you're making a prank phone call? It's #31#, right? Tag. Fine, Jesus. I won't prank anyone in your phone book, he grumbled, stalking out of the bathroom. Enjoy romancing the toilet, Joe. Are you sure you don't want me to call the doctor? Shannon asked, when Tag had skulked off with my phone. What about Aoife? She offered. I could call her for you. No, don't call Aoife, I warned with a shake of my head. Don't call anyone. I hadn't told Shannon that I'd broken up with Malloy. I hadn't told a soul. Terrorizing my baby sister with my issues, when she was already laden down with anxiety, was something that I had no intention of doing. She didn't need to be exposed to what I hadn't been able to protect my own girlfriend from witnessing. Disgust filled me at a rapid pace, and I heaved noisily, expelling another rush of bile. Besides, I was too ashamed of myself and too fucking raw to form the words that were required to explain the latest level of fucking up I had reached. I might have been the one doing the breaking up, but I wasn't ready to admit it out loud, much less talk about it. I'd given a year of my life to the girl, and there was a small part of me, a tiny spark of hope still flickering around in my chest. One that allowed me to believe that if I could get a handle on my shit, if I could just overcome this horrible fucking habit I'd fallen into, then maybe, in time, I could win her back. Maybe I could become someone deserving of being with her, because the current version of me sure as hell wasn't. And if I couldn't beat this thing that had crept up on me and sunk its claws in me, then at least I wasn't going to drag her down with me. Because I loved Aoife Malloy enough to force her hand with a get-out-of-jail card, even if it almost killed me to do it. I would not turn her into another Sam, or worse, my mam. I would rather cut my bollocks off and join the priesthood before I let that happen. Are you sure you don't want me to call Aoife for you? Gingerly padding into the bathroom, my sister lowered herself onto the bathroom floor opposite me and rested her back against the bath. Her blue eyes were laced with worry when she said, "If I had a boyfriend, I would want to know if he was sick." Shrugging helplessly, she added, "I would want to help him." "She can't help me," I bit out, slowly leaning back to rest against the wall. "No one can." Sadness enveloped her features. "Joe." I knew that Shannon knew what was really happening here, and Shannon knew that I knew she knew. Still, neither one of us spoke a word about the elephant in the room, and I was grateful for her in this moment. She wasn't lecturing me. She wasn't calling me names and reminding me of what a terrible person I had become. She was just here. It's okay. Breathing laboured, I forced myself to look her in the eyes. It's going to be okay. She blew out a shaky breath. You promise? Yeah. I nodded stiffly. I promise.
It's been 17 hours and 6 whole days. December 31st, 2004. Aoife. With my world shattered around me and my heart splintered in my chest, I somehow managed to make it through the next week by committing myself to 3 methods or modes in order to survive the unsurvivable. Work mode. Throwing myself at the mercy of my boss, I snatched up every available hour of work at the Dinneman. Desperate for the distraction and the mundane anonymity that came with waiting tables, until I could crawl back into bed at night and cry myself to sleep. Revise for the Leaving Cert mode. Because I wasn't the scholar that Kev was, I quickly found that this method, as optimistic and productive as it had seemed in my mind when I conjured it up, was a complete bust. I would have to inhale our books if I had a hope of passing our Leaving Cert. He only had to hear the teacher say it once, and it remained in his big old brain forever. Me? The teacher all but had to force it in and stick sellotape over every orifice in my head to stop the information from falling back out. That's how sucky I was at the academic side of school. Unfortunately for me, there was no exam on socializing, which, unlike Kev, I excelled in. Therefore, I swiftly moved on to the 3rd method. Take a bottle of vodka in the bath with me mode. Yeah, when I had hashed up my 3-step survival guide, I really hadn't thought it through, because similar to method number 2, it sounded like a fantastic idea. Then I remembered that Mam had switched our tub out for the fucking power shower. See? Nothing was going my way. Regardless of my methods, I found myself going through the motions. On Sunday, I was numb. On Monday, I was empty. On Tuesday, I was hysterically optimistic that everything would miraculously work out. On Wednesday, I was filled with deranged obsessiveness, which in turn had caused me to fill his voicemail with needy messages that made me hate myself, and then angry ones that assured him that I hated him much more. On Thursday, I was back to being grief-stricken. And by Friday, I'd resigned myself to the fact that I would never willingly celebrate another New Year's Eve again. Last year had been horrible enough when I had to sit back and endure the knowledge that Joey was upstairs fucking Danielle, but tonight, as I sat alone in my house, I knew that I felt 1,000,000 times worse. Sure, I was technically with Paul last year, and Joey was happily servicing half the school, but we still had each other. Because last year, as messed up and as blurred the 5-year-long precipice of our friendship had become, at least I still had him. But now, this year, I was utterly alone. My parents were gone to the pub, and even Kev, who rarely left the house, had gone with them. Fresh from a shower, I stood in front of my bedroom mirror and took a long, hard glance in the mirror. My eyes were puffy and bloodshot, my lips were red and swollen, and my cheeks were tear-stained. I looked like shit. I felt worse. Sniffling, I reached up and pulled my damp and knotted hair into a makeshift bun on top of my head. Dressing in a pair of black leggings, ballet pumps, and a chunky, oversized pink jumper, I batted the tears still trickling down my cheeks away with the back of my hand. My hair was a wet mess piled on top of my head, and my face was void of makeup but I didn't care. I didn't have any plans for the night. To be fair, it wasn't as if I didn't have offers. I had received countless texts and invitations from school pals, not to mention a dozen or so colourful voicemails from Casey. She was begging me to go with her to a Tommen party that Katie had snagged us an invite to, courtesy of her rugby-playing lover boy. According to Casey, the boys were fine. The drink was free, and she had every intention of snagging herself a fancy-pants private school attending, built like a brick shithouse rugby-playing ride for the night. Good for her. She could have all of the rugby-obsessed boys of Tommen she wanted, because the only boy I wanted to spend tonight with came with a hurley, a BCS uniform, and a truckload of trauma. Pulling the sleeves of my jumper down over my hands, I shivered from the cold as my gaze raked over my bedroom floor, eye searching for the familiar keyring. Don't do it, my pride warned. Don't be so desperate. Oh my God, do it! My heart encouraged. You know he still loves us. Eyes landing on my car keys, I quickly snatched them up and hurried out of my room. Yay, you're going to do it! My heart cheered. You can leave me at the door, my pride declared, checking out on me. This is beyond pathetic. I knew that I was taking one hell of a risk in doing what I was about to do, and there was a good chance that I would break my heart further, but I would never forgive myself if I didn't get the words that were burning me from the inside out. He needed help, and I needed to be heard. And even if he refused to let me help him, then he damn sure would hear me.
Babysitting brothers and boycotting bad habits. December 31st, 2004. Joey. Go the fuck to sleep! I shouted up the staircase. I swear to Christ, lads, if I have to come back up these stairs, you'll be sorry. Yeah, right. Tag laughed back, daring as ever, as he leaned over the banister and taunted me. What are you going to do? Glare at us to death? Yeah. Billy Brave Bollocks, with the purple Furby tucked under his arm, chimed in. We knows you won't touch us, Joe. Don't get lippy with me, fucker, I warned, pointing a finger at number 5. There's a first time for everything. Yeah, right, Ollie snorted, not one bit flailed by my empty threat. I mean it, I told him. And if you even think about waking that baby, it won't be me who spends another 2 hours rocking him back to sleep. Oh, please, Ollie shot back. Shaney can sleep through anything. Yeah, I countered. Lucky for him since he's living with a pair of foghorns. Why can't I come down? Tag whined. It's New Year's Eve. Shannon gets to stay up. And don't say it's because she's older than me, because that's a cop-out. Because if I let you come down, then I have to let Ollie come down. And if I let Ollie come down, I have to let Shane come down. I heard myself tell him for what had to be the 7th time. And I'm not carrying all of your asses back to bed when you pass out on the couch. But Dad's gone out for the night, Tag continued to protest. And Mam's gone with him. This happens once a year, Joe. Once a damn year. Exactly, I agreed. So fuck off, up to bed, like a good lad, and let me enjoy the peace and quiet for once. This is bullshit, Tag grumbled. It's only 10:30. We hate it when you babysit, Ollie huffed, tripping over his words. You're the meanest and boring. I rolled my eyes. Yeah, because babysitting the three of ye is such a thrilling event for me too. Joey, please. Bed, I ordered, holding a hand up. Keep fighting with me, and neither one of you will see the inside of a GAA grounds for a week. You can't do that, Tag protested. You can't ground us. You're not our dad. Yeah, Ollie added, sidling up to Tag. You're not the boss of us. Oh no, I cocked a brow. Keep pushing, and I'll add on another week. But that's 3 weeks. This is bullshit, Tag huffed, before disappearing from sight. I like you better when you're puking. Yeah, Ollie grumbled as he hurried after Tag. We hate you. Yeah, sweet dreams, you little fuckers, I called back, waiting for the sound of their bedroom door slamming shut before heading back into the sitting room. Oh, I am so glad you're here to crack the whip, Shannon chuckled, when I sank down on the couch beside her. They literally never do what I tell them. You can't show weakness, I explained, tossing her a bar of chocolate from my pocket. Boys grouped up like that are like a pack of rabid dogs. They can smell fear a mile away, and the minute you're bare your neck to them, they'll go straight for the jugular. Whoa, she mused, unwrapping her bar. What an interesting parenting concept. Don't eat it like that, you weirdo. Gaping in horror at the way my sister brutally savaged the Kit Kat bar, I grabbed the cushion behind my back and tossed it at her. The fuck kind of serial killer are you? What? Crackling from her perch at the end of the couch, Shannon took another bite, straight down the middle, without splitting it in half first. It's only chocolate. Shaking my head in disgust, I took a sip from the cup of tea she had made me earlier and muttered, You're a little psycho at heart, aren't you? You're in a lot better shape than yesterday, she shot back, approvingly. I'm proud of you, Joe. For what exactly? For getting better. Cheeks blushing, she squirmed in discomfort. For staying home tonight, when being here is the last place you want to be. That's for damn sure. And I was far from better, but I was still trying, still hanging in there, and I was still clean. The worst of the DTs had passed, but I knew that I was balancing on thin ice, which meant that going out tonight was a risk that I couldn't afford to take. I hadn't put myself through hell this past week to throw it all away, because that's exactly what I would do. Unlike my father, alcohol had never been my issue, but it was the sneaky fucking sidekick to my main nemesis. Because with all of the freedom that alcohol provided me, it stripped me of all logic and awareness. It rendered me reckless before sending me plummeting headfirst down a path of no return. Because when I got drunk, I got sloppy, and when I got sloppy, I got high. It had been that way since I wasn't much older than Tag was. Hell, maybe even Ollie. For close to half my life, I had danced with the devil, playing with fire, and it had finally caught up with me. Worse than catching up with me, it had overtaken me. The line I had crossed wasn't one many came back from. Malloy's heartbroken face was still as fresh in my mind now as it had been the week before. It was the driving force behind my decision to park my ass on this couch and stay out of trouble for the night. I couldn't fuck up again. I couldn't afford to. I knew in my heart that if I let myself slip back down that hole, there would be no coming back out. You know, Shannon mused, dragging me back to the present as she polished off her chocolate bar. I can't remember the last New Year's Eve we spent together. I could. I was in 6th class. You were in 3rd, I reminded her, remembering the night like it was yesterday. Darren was in 6th year and had just come out to Mam over the Christmas, and the old man had hit the roof. Oh, yeah. The light in her eyes dimmed. I remember. He broke up the house, disowned Darren, broke Mam's arm for defending Darren, then broke my nose for defending Mam, before packing a bag and fucking off for a month. Yeah, she whispered, chewing on her lip. That was the last Christmas that Darren spent with us. Yeah, I acknowledged quietly. And that was the last time I spent New Year's Eve at home. It was the last time I'd spent it sober too. He left the following autumn, she added, clearly thinking back to a time in our lives when it wasn't so complicated. Once he had his leaving cert results, which were all higher level A's because, let's face it, he was a fair bit of a genius, I begrudgingly admitted. Clever fuckers probably in an office somewhere, sitting behind a big-ass desk with a fancy computer in front of him, and making a fortune with that big brain of his. I hope so, Shannon replied wistfully. I really do hope he's okay, Joe. He's grand, I bit out, feeling my mood sour. He got out, didn't he? Yeah, I guess. Anxiety filled her eyes. Do you hate him? I nodded stiffly. Her eyes widened. Really? Yes, really. I snapped. I really and truly despise the guy. For leaving me on my own in this. For dropping the burden of responsibility on my shoulders when we should be sharing the load. For snatching my future away from me when he walked out the door. I don't. She eyed me nervously. Hate Darren, that is. I'm still hurt that he left and never came back. He didn't just not come back. I interrupted, feeling my temper rise at the memory. He didn't pick up the phone either, not once in half a decade. But I still don't hate him. I could never hate any of my brothers. She nudged my knee with her foot before adding, and especially not my favourite brother. I rolled my eyes. Kiss ass. It was a good month, though, huh? She added with a small smile. When Dad left that Christmas. I mean, aside from Mam's broken arm and your broken nose, that is. You can chalk that down. I shot back. It was the first Christmas we had with Mam that I can remember her actually being present. Me too, Shannon agreed. She was so alive that Christmas. Her eyes lit up as she thought back. Remember how much fun we had when she took us out singing the rain on St. Stephen's Day. Giggling, she added. She brought us around from door to door and pub to pub, singing our hearts out. We made so much money, Joe, remember? Yeah, I snorted. Only because I persuaded her to swallow her pride and let us do it. You did? Yeah, I replied flatly. Dad had fucked off with all of our money. She wasn't getting paid for another fortnight, and her precious Darren Was too busy studying for his exams to get a job. Shrugging, I added, we needed something to get us by. Ollie needed nappies, and there wasn't a scrap of food in the press when he left. Really? Shannon squeezed out. So that's why you got that job with Tony Malloy that Christmas? Because we didn't have any money? I shrugged. Pretty much. Whoa. She blew out a breath. I never knew that. There's a lot you never knew, Shan, I muttered, taking another sip of tea. Be glad. I am, she hurried to assure me. I am glad, Joe, and grateful. Darren might have been the academic son, but you're the survivor. She reached across the couch and squeezed my shoulder with her small hand. Which is how I know that you're going to be okay. She gave me a meaningful look and whispered the words, I promise. A small knock sounded on the front door then, and I quickly sprang to my feet, thankful for the break in conversation. It was getting too deep, and I couldn't handle heavy right now. Who is it? Shannon called after me, when I had barely made it to the hallway. Maybe if you give me a chance to answer it, I can tell you, I replied dryly, as I turned the key in the lock and swung the door inwards. The minute my eyes landed on her face, I felt like the air that had been knocked clean out of my lungs. Fuck. With her arms wrapped around herself protectively, Malloy stood at my front door, looking more broken and more beautiful than I'd ever seen her look in the 6 years I'd known her. Hi, she whispered. Hi. Ignoring my sister as she called out from the sitting room, I managed to string enough words together to ask, Are you okay? The dark circles under her puffy eyes assured me that she wasn't. With her teeth chattering, I watched as she started to nod before abruptly stopping and shaking her head instead. Can we talk? Fuck. With my heart hammering violently in my chest, I stepped outside and pulled the front door out behind me, knowing that whatever she had to say was going to hurt, but complying without protest because I deserved everything that she could throw at me, and more.
I'm not okay. December 31st, 2004. Aoife. When I knocked on the Lynch's front door late on New Year's Eve, the very last person I had been expecting to see standing in the doorway was Joey. But when the door swung inwards, that's exactly who I found staring back at me. Of course, he was who I had come to see, but in my heart of hearts, I honestly thought that it would be a fruitless trip. The minute my eyes landed on his, the pain in my chest that I had been walking around with amplified, to the point where I had to physically press my hand against my chest bone to soothe the ache. My breath hitched. Hi. Hi. He gripped the door tighter. Are you okay? No. Can we talk? He nodded, and I exhaled a shaky breath when he stepped outside and quietly closed the door out behind him. The grey sweatpants he was wearing hung low on his narrow hips, revealing a hint of the black boxer shorts he had on underneath. The plain white t-shirt he had on revealed his tattooed arms and fitted him in such a way that I could see the hint of black ink on his chest. It hurt. It fucking scorched me. Unable to stop myself, I drank in the sight of him, as my body heated and my heart cracked under the insurmountable effort that it took for me to stand here and face him. Letting my voice trail off, I studied his face, feeling more confused with every second that passed. You're here? You're sober? Yeah. Joey nodded slowly, jaw ticking. I am. Why? I demanded, tone hoarse and broken. Why are you here? Should I not be? It's New Year's Eve. Yeah, I am aware of the date. Answer me. He blew out a pained breath when he said, I'm sort of trying to turn over a new leaf. I stared at him in disbelief. Why? He gave me a hard look. Why do you think? Why? I repeated, unrelenting. Why, Joe, why? Because I fucked up. So? Tears pulled my eyes, and I carefully kept them open, not daring to blink. I knew if I did, the dam would burst. Blinking tears away never worked for me. I had to stare them back to hell. You fucked up before, and it hasn't stopped you from doing it again. Over and over again. Yeah, well, maybe this time when I fucked up, it cost me more than I was willing to lose. What does that mean? You know what it means, he replied, running a hand through his hair. Say it, I demanded, as we stood less than 2 feet apart, with him towering over me. Give me the words. His green eyes blazed with heat when he came right out and said, It cost me you. Me? You. No. His words knocked me for 6 and I shook my head. Don't say that. You asked, he bit out. I answered. But you... Shaking my head, I glared up at him, feeling hopeful and hopeless all in one conflicted breath. You did this, Joey. I know. No. I held up a shaky hand as I mentally batted away the pitiful hope rising up inside of me. You broke up with me. I know, Malloy. His eyes blazed with heat when he growled, I know. Then don't feed me any more bullshit, I hissed, unable to get a handle on my frazzled emotions. You were more than willing to lose me when you walked out on me. Tears burned my eyes as I stared up at him. I was there, remember? I watched you leave. Because I was trying to do the right thing, he snarled, losing his cool right back with me. Fuck! For who? I screamed, throwing my hands up. For you! He roared back, chest heaving as he mirrored my actions, throwing his hands up wildly. For you, Malloy! For fucking you! Always you! Frustrated, he clenched his hands at his sides and spat. I was willing to walk away because I knew that it was the best thing that I could do for you, not because I don't love you. Love me? I choked out a pained, humourless laugh. So now you give me the word? When it's over? I shook my head, incredulous as devastation ricocheted through me. That's just fucking priceless. He narrowed his eyes. I'm giving you the truth. You know about my parents' relationship, I accused, delirious with grief and desperate for him to hear my pain, for him to know just how deep the knife he put in my back had cut me. It was wedged in the bone, and I was slowly dying inside. You know why I have issues with trusting men. He had the good grace to clamp his mouth shut and nod. I never trusted Paul, not once in 4 years, and I never allowed myself to love him either, because I knew what would happen if I did. I strangled out, breath coming in short, audible puffs. I knew that in the end he would let me down and break my heart if I gave him the power to. So I didn't. I kept the power and my heart to myself. Sniffling, I shook my head and forced myself to look at him when I said, "But I never stood a chance against you, did I?" He stared at me for the longest time before blowing out a pained breath. "Aoife, I was trying to protect you." "Well, it didn't work," I heard myself cry, body growing limp as the adrenaline that had been coursing through me quickly deflated. "Because I'm not okay." He flinched. "I know." "I'm not okay," I repeated, needing him to hear me, to see me, to fucking help me. "You asked me earlier if I was okay, and I'm telling you that I'm not okay." "I never meant to." His voice broke off, and he scrubbed his face with his hand before strangling out, "I know, okay? I know. It's the same for me." "You made me fall," I forced myself to tell him as every inch of me trembled. "You made me fall and trust and believe, and then you took it all away." Pain encompassed his features. "I know." "I'm in love with you." I didn't care how weak or pathetic I sounded in that moment, as I continued to let my truth spill from my lips as I bled open in front of him. "And I'm afraid for you, and I'm completely fucked up in the head because of you." My throat hitched, and I exhaled a broken sob before forcing out, "And I have felt all of these things for you since I was 12 years old." "Aoife, I have turned a blind eye to all of the shady things you do more times than I care to admit. I have thrown friendships away to be with you. I have walked into drug dens for you. I have covered for you, protected you, lied for you, and given my body to you." "Aoife," he groaned like I was causing him physical pain. I couldn't love you more if I tried, Joey Lynch," I cried, giving up the fight against the tears that were flowing freely down my cheeks now. "I couldn't." I felt like a poisoned snake that I was dying, weakened, but exceptionally dangerous and venomous. I couldn't understand how my heart was so willing to be hurt, to lay down for this boy to walk and trample all over it with no thought or care for the consequences, without thought for my future, which didn't exist without him. "But it's never going to be enough for you." Losing the battle with my emotions, I clutched my head in my hands and released an agonized scream. "I'm never going to be enough for you because my love doesn't come in the form of a powder that you can snort up your nose or inject in your veins." "That's not how it is," Joey interrupted, voice cracking. "That's not how I feel." Exhaling a ragged breath, he closed the space between us and roughly pulled me into his arms. "I'm the problem here, Molloy. I'm the one who's never going to be enough. Not you." "You are enough." "I'm not," he replied. "I'm really not, baby." "It's too much, Joe." Tears spilled over, falling so fast it was hard to see clearly as my arms shot out of their own accord, clinging to the person who had inflicted all of this pain on me. "All of it," I strangled out, burying my face in his chest. "I feel too much for you." "I know," he ground out. "That's exactly why I did what I did." He pressed a kiss to my damp hair and wrapped me tighter in his arms. "You need to understand that this is a hill that I've been climbing since before we met. This is my demon to slay." He released a torn growl and clung to me. "None of this is on you."
I'm trying to fix me. December 31st, 2004. Joey. I used to think that my words were bullets, but I was wrong. Nothing I could ever conjure up in my mind could inflict as much pain as had been inflicted on me by her words. Each word after, soul-destroying word, splintering me and cutting me to the bone. Why can't you love me more? She continued to cry, holding on to me with a vice-like grip. Why am I not enough for you? I do love you more, I choked out, feeling my soul crack in half as I reeled in the unimaginable fucking horror of what I'd done to her. You are enough for me. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Blowing out a pained breath, I added, I don't want to be the way I am. I don't fucking love what I do. I despise it. Then why do it? She begged, trembling in my arms. Why? She was asking me to give her the answer to something I couldn't explain. How did you justify addiction to someone who had never lived through it? How was I supposed to make her understand that? For most of my life, I had been desperate to escape. That the only solace I'd ever been able to find had been in the soothing drag of a joint, or a mind-altering line of coke, in the numbing effect of benzos, or the thrilling buzz of uppers. How could I forget the euphoric fucking feeling of heroin? Because Malloy didn't know what it felt like to wake up every morning with a strong inclination to attempt suicide. She didn't know how it felt to be a helpless child, half starved from hunger, and even more starved for a way out of a home she wasn't wanted in. She didn't know what it felt like to be that hopeless kid who finally found something that helped him through the pain and sheer fucking misery that was his life. She had no idea how quickly the shift in balance had happened for that kid. How it had snuck up on him so unexpectedly. She could never understand the excruciating self-loathing that came with the realization that the one vice that had once helped that kid make it through the day had silently morphed into something he couldn't make it through a day without. She would never understand how it felt to transition from controlling your life with something you once enjoyed to becoming controlled by the very thing you now despised. I didn't tell her any of that, though, because I couldn't. Because I wasn't fucking good enough. I don't know, was all I could say instead. I don't know why I do it, Malloy. Sniffling, she looked up at me and whispered, That's not good enough. I know. It's all I have. Cupping her face between my hands, I leaned in close and pressed my brow to hers. I'm sorry. Shivering, she closed her eyes and leaned into my touch. I don't want to be with anyone else. Neither do I replied hoarsely. And then it almost killed me to add, but I don't want to hurt you either, which means that I need to stay away from you, and you need to let me. No. With tears dripping down her cheeks, she shook her head and tightened her hold on my wrist. I can't. You have to, I croaked out, feeling every ounce of her pain. because I shared it right along with her. Because I need to get my head clear before I can trust myself to be near you. But you're fine now, she sobbed, clutching onto me. You didn't go out tonight. You're here. You're here, Joe. You're not strung out or stoned or drunk. We both know that I'm not fine, baby. But listen to me. No. Because you're not saying what I need you to say. You want the words? Roughly clearing my throat, I sucked in a sharp breath before saying, Fine. I love you, Aoife Malloy. Don't. I love you, I reiterated, eyes locked on hers, as I brushed away a tear from her cheek. I love you more than I have ever loved another person in my life, and that's not an exaggeration. That's the God's honest truth, Joe, which is why I can never put you in a position like the one I put you in on Christmas Eve. Sniffling back my emotion, I shook my head and expelled a harsh breath before adding, It's because I love you that I will never allow that to happen to you ever again. You're not supposed to tell me that you love me after we've broken up, she cried, burying her face in my chest. You're supposed to say it when we're still together. Before, during, after, I shrugged helplessly. It still stands. I don't want this, Joey, she strangled out. I don't want to lose you. You're my best friend. And you're my best friend, I admitted, torn apart. Nothing I feel for you has changed, Malloy. Then I need something more than just words, she demanded. If you expect me to walk away, then I need you to give me some sort of guarantee. Like what? Like this isn't forever? She whispered, green eyes searching mine. That this is a temporary break, and as soon as you process whatever it is that you need to process, we're going to get back together. And if I can't? She shook her head. That's not an option. Malloy, I blew out a breath. I don't want to make you a promise that I can't keep. Then make it and keep it, she urged, reaching up to entwine her fingers with mine. It's as easy as that. No, it wasn't. And we both knew it. How's this? I offered instead. I'm going to go and do my thing for a while, clear my head, and get my shit together. Without me, she whispered numbly. For you. And you're going to go off and do your thing with Casey and the girls, and you're going to have a fucking epic time, I continued. And you're not going to worry about what I'm doing or who I'm with, because you already know that you've got my heart in your ass pocket. Sniffling, she looked up at me expectantly. And your dick? It wasn't a question. It was a warning. But I answered her anyway. And my dick. She nodded her approval, and I swiftly continued. And we're going to see each other at school. And it's not going to be fucked up and awkward, because we both remember that before we were us, we were us, she filled in softly. Exactly. I'm not replacing you, Malloy. I couldn't. I'm trying to fix me. For you.